This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Sarah Peliquin. Thank you. Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
Yeah, in a cave with some bats where they just interrupt the podcast from time to time.
Sticklebats, man.
Sticklebats meet. Wow. Guys, don't be alarmed if Lane lets out a loud shriek during this episode. We are under siege.
Dude, what noise? Can you do an impersonation of the noise I made?
Yeah, so moments ago, we had a shadow. We're doing some research on elves, and all of a sudden I felt, before I saw, this other presence in the room, and I just hear Elaine go, "Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh, God!"
Because what I felt I sounded like was that?
It was, yeah.
Kind of between
somewhere
there?
In between.
Okay, all right.
Well,
I'm so glad that Johan, our buddy, was able to calm us down with that intro. What a beautiful rendition of King Elisar's coronation song. Yeah. Holy cow, that's beautiful. So, guys, if you have any, if you want to sing any of those songs, we are still planning on putting that album together at some point. It might not happen this summer, so we're busy. But send your versions of these songs to us so that we can incorporate them into the intro or some other way. We love hearing them. So
absolutely.
Thank you for that.
That's really neat stuff.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
All right. This week we'll be covering Lothlórien as a part of our journey through Middle Earth. Last week we were on the bridge of Khazad-dûmi. So thought that that's where we were at.
So nice of you to ask.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. Something kind of new we've introduced, our table of contents, where we just kind of bring up some stuff that's a little bit different each week in the show if something stands out. And so this week we have, actually last week we got a chance to talk to our good friend JR.
That's right.
JR Hadley, which was a lot of fun on from, what's the name of that podcast? Sci-Fi Shenanigans?
Sci-Fi Shenanigans, that's right.
Yeah, so we have his Tolkien story here at the end. We also have... we've got Michael Upshaw's story today too. So yeah. And I'm going to do a rundown at the end of the show. Remind me, Lane.
The rundown.
2 hours from now, please remind me that that I'm going to do a rundown of everyone who has submitted their stories, and so we can kind of get like an order here because I know people have been kind of wondering and waiting. So, all right, my friend, into quick counsel.
Wow, here we are. It's coming quick, that's for sure.
Here we are.
Here we are.
So,
how you been, man?
I've been okay. I'm busy. We want to let folks know we got a little behind, and basically that's because Ez is moving. I am in the midst of a move. I am selling my condo, and it is it's a bigger task than
Never, when you've told me before, has it sounded like this, but just now, it made me think of when Michael Scott tries to sell his condo on eBay.
Oh, God. That's
yeah. So you're selling your condo. That's right. That's right.
And it's just taking. It's just more to it.
A move's a big deal, man. And except for an unexpected podcast, you record out of your condo, so that's got to be another thing that's kind of weird. That's throwing you off, and that's right. So, and when you're moving, I remember that when you're moving, you're never really sure where anything is. Did I pack that already? Where did I pack that?
Gosh.
Didn't think I was going to need that, and I do need it. It's just a lot of your brain's always going. You're probably sleeping pretty well, aren't you?
This might be too much information, but
well, then it needs to be shared.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I was looking for my floss this morning, and I was like, "Gosh dang it, I can't floss my teeth. What are you doing? Sit down." Hey, Arwen's right behind you, by the way. There we go. All right. So I'm looking for my floss, and I packed it, obviously, with the other stuff that I'm kind of... What? Give me a second, man. Gosh, Lane always puts me on the spot here. He's doing a little dance move. I'll post it for the group here, a little video. That's actually pretty good. What is that dance move called? Is that called flossing? Is that what that is? Okay, cool. All right, that's good. Okay. That's good.
You said floss, so I had to floss.
All right, good job. I didn't know that.
Our kids would be so proud of us.
I didn't know that actually had a name, that dance
I'm
move.
kind of sweaty now.
Good.
Yeah, that's flossing.
Okay, cool. So, anywho.
Looking for your floss.
Some of the, just kind of.
So is the breath not real?
No,
dragon's breath.
I got mouthwash and brush my teeth and everything, but I like to.
Nothing beats floss. That's what my dentist tells me.
The dentist will tell you, that's right. The cavities
Speaking of
form
the
in
dentist.
between your teeth.
Yeah, unless you're me, and then they're on top of those big, molars that are all
How
crevicy.
you feeling? You're speaking a little.
So I'm going to apologize. If you hear me go silent for a little bit tonight, guys, it's because, well, my tongue is really very sore. And I'm still recovering. Uh-huh. So that video that went up of me at the dentist, none of that. I was telling Ez, I think it sounds like it's put on. That was not contrived whatsoever. Like I wish it was. I had to have dental work on both sides of my mouth. And I don't know why. It's been so long since I've had a cavity and had work done that I really forgot that I would get numbed. I was like, oh, they'll just, because the way they explained it, they're like, well, we have so much fluoride in toothpaste and water now that something can get just beyond your tooth and it seals it up like coats of finish on wood, and then we have to crack down in it to get to that stuff. We can't just clean it as easily.
Right.
I was like, all right, so they'll just pick it and I'll be good. And I didn't think they'd have to like numb my face. So they go in. I was like, he takes the thing and starts rubbing my inner
gums?
my gums, and I'm like, holy crap. And then he takes a needle and starts injecting. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a process. And I'm like, all right, cool, the one side's done. And he's like, okay, we're gonna start on the other side. It took about 50 minutes just to get me numb.
Wow. Yeah.
And so anyway, and then I always forget how when you're given like a numbing agent, it keeps getting more numb before it
as it goes on. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So we're sitting there and I can barely talk. I'm trying to talk to this lady. I'm just saying like, it feels like my tongue is huge. My tongue huge? She's like laughing. She's like, no, your tongue's the same size. I was like, I kind of feel like an orc, a killer whale. They open their mouth and their tongues are just huge. That's what I feel like. She was like, yeah. That's not what you look like, though. I was like, okay, well. So anyway,
it sounded rough.
My tongue is pretty sore, and my throat is just. I feel like I've been yelling all day. So
wow. Okay.
That's about it.
You'll be all right.
Yeah,
I have faith in you.
When you go silent, it's time to done.
Right. Okay, couple things in quick counsel. Again, we always try to break the record for the longest quick counsel ever each episode. So here we go. Yeah. Weta had a competition actually at San Diego Comic-Con. You could join in at home, and it's to win a trip to Middle Earth. I entered that.
Not once.
Not once,
but twice. And once is me.
Once is Lane.
So here's the
he's
thing:
going to gift that to me.
If I win, I'm going.
Oh God, dang it! Oh man,
can you imagine? That'd be so terrible.
That would be. I mean,
that'd be terrible. Well, I hope you win, man. That would be a cool way to.
Yeah, I thought it'd be kind of neat, So
I bet they'd have you meet with Peter Jackson if they were like, "Oh wait, okay, all right, you're in a little book club. How excellent! Come on down, we'll show you the studio." They probably wouldn't.
It was
definitely
neat, but it's over though. I wanted to announce it ahead of time, but it was real quick over Comic-Con weekend, and so jumped in that. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. Next up, what do we got?
Well, I was just thinking. When you were with the Swishers, the girls, they were talking about how was it Megan who said she wasn't really a big fan of the audiobook for Lord of the Rings, Rob Inglis.
Yeah, I think so.
Who we both love, but she was like, I don't like his voice.
Yeah, sure.
And she said, you guys should, if you guys recorded it, I'd listen to it. And I was like, that'd be kind of fun. So there might be, with all these other things we're trying to take on here. Yeah. I think, what? Maybe a little feature we might do at some point kind of slowly is recording chapters in audiobook format of the Lord of the Rings that we would share with you guys. We wouldn't sell them or anything, so
no,
hopefully
can't do
we wouldn't
that.
infringe on any kind of rights.
Yep, can't do
we'll
that.
just keep that quiet. But anyway, that's that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun. Actually, JR, who at the end of the show we're gonna talk about, another podcasting guy and a fellow upper, mentioned it on his podcast, which was weird. He said his sister, who does his editing, kind of thought that we should be doing audio.
I would love to do that.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be amazing.
I think you would be really great at it. But
I think you'd be awesome too. So.
I think you'd be better.
Okay, well, where's Billy right now?
He's
in
been,
the world.
So
is
okay,
Billy
we're
Boyd
recording
again?
this a little bit early, but I believe it has just arrived. I had a tracking
Scott?
number. Yeah, I think it's with Scott. So hopefully Scott's enjoying Billy over there. Just Scott, give us an update. Let us know how it's going, and then
Let us know how you're enjoying Billy, Scott. Please.
Right? I mean, that's the whole point, right? I mean. So, anyways, he'll send that back to us, and then we'll just kind of keep it going.
And guys, remember what happens with Billy stays with Billy. So,
right.
If you want to sing songs to him and go to sleep with him,
cool.
If you just want to put them on your mantle, that's okay too.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So, and don't forget hashtag the BBWT.
Yep.
And we'll get those hashtags in the group. And
I can't wait for Billy to see it.
I think it'd be cool.
Be blown away.
Tag him in it. Okay. Another quick update, and then we'll move on.
Yes, that's right. So we told you a little bit about how our first run of Patreon Unexpected Podcast T-shirts didn't really turn out the way we had wanted.
Let's just call it what it is. They were crap.
No, we know
they were crap.
They just didn't turn out the way we wanted.
Okay.
So we went to my amazing friend Rob Thorson, who is actually the guy who does the genius. The god of thunder, the son of Odin, who does the pretty much everything for our rugby club. He's done our jerseys, he's done our bags, he's done a backpack for me. He's embroidered shorts, jackets. He's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, finally got to meet him. I told you a little bit about that last time at our sevens tournament. He was in from Minnesota, but he's going to work. He's already. You guys have seen it on the page, but he's worked on a T-shirt mock-up that'll kind of be like our flagship T-shirt for our book club that will be going out to our
patrons.
Our elven patrons. Yep. So I know some people have actually contacted me about can we buy these, even though I'm not a patron. And so with that shirt, I think what we'll do. Okay. I don't know. We haven't talked about this, and we can further talk about this.
This is a live business meeting.
It's a live business meeting. We'll that'll be our first shirt to those level of patrons, and then I think eventually, maybe I don't know, down the line, we'll open that up for people to order if they want, because it's kind of like
it's kind of an exclusive for people who are on Patreon. Yeah. The other thing we could do is Lane and I have a goal of making. We're eventually going to get like a public T. Website. We could just kind of upload designs on there, because Lane has a lot of ideas, and we have some cool design things that we can work with Rob on, and post them there so you guys can just buy them. Like we've got the name game shirt, we've got Peekin and the Palantir, we've got a bunch of other stuff that we kind of thought would be fun. So
and another thing,
got a list somewhere of T-shirts, ideas,
right? And we could do one too, where we could have Rob do a couple mock-ups, put it out, put it on a poll, and say which one do you want to do next. Mm-hmm. You guys pick it, and then we could put that one up for sale. I mean, we could. There's no shortage of T-shirts that he could do for us too. So we could do that for patrons only, and then even open it up to everybody, because we don't want to make that. We want everyone to be able to rep the book club. So is what we're saying.
Absolutely. So we could do two versions. We could do an exclusive version, and then one that's just open for everybody to buy. I'm down for that. Absolutely. Now another quick update. We are for our Patreon members. Lane and I have talked about a way in which we can do a live podcast. Okay, now what that really means is you guys get to hear all of the wild and craziness before we get going.
I think it's a frightening idea.
Hey, how long were we going for? 2 hours there trying?
We originally said, hey, let's start at 6.
It's 10 o'clock.
Started at 7, and now it's about 10 o'clock.
Dude, it's unreal.
Just, we didn't have a lot of time. We didn't really talk the chapter when you came in today. We just kind of hung out, and we spent time with Winnie and and Goldberry, and so
Yeah, but anyways, it's just something what's a tier that's not a tier that's coming, but anyone who is on Patreon, eventually once we start back in the school year this fall, on our Friday nights, we're gonna have a live listen. Baby. I mean, the mics are gonna be hot in here. We told Goldberry when you walk by. Man. The mics are on.
Your clothes are on.
Make sure they're.
For those of you watching it who can't see right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Dropping eaves. Let's make this.
Dropping some eaves. Okay. So Comic-Con came and went.
Mm-hmm.
And so not a whole lot of news about the show, unfortunately. So, but I think that 2021 year is probably the most realistic we've seen right now. So I think that's probably why, it's, I don't know if you guys know, it's only 2018. So we've got a little bit of time, even with a long production or a big production for a TV show like that, we'd still be pretty early stages for them to get something out by 2021. So the news might be slow. Now I'm wondering, is that Aragorn centered storyline even true? Or was that just kind of rumors that like Ez was saying, were those, kind of thrown out there to feed? That's right.
Patience.
So we'll kind of see. We'll keep an ear out to the Western Wind, and you guys will keep us informed as well. But no news there. I didn't look up and see if there's a release date for the Tolkien biopic. I don't think it's even a real movie. But we'll let you know when we hear, and we will definitely go watch that. I'm actually really bummed that we haven't heard more. It seems like it's been done.
I think
done for like 7 months, and we haven't heard about a release date. And post production for a biopic like that, I wouldn't imagine taking real long. But
we might have to shoot it ourselves.
Can you imagine? I'll be. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not even gonna go there.
It's fake. It doesn't
It
exist.
is fake news.
Okay.
So anyway, but we'll keep you posted. We're really anxious for that.
Yeah.
One little cool bit from Comic-Con in San Diego is they released the next wave of mini epics. So we posted that on the group, and you guys saw. I hope they keep these coming for a long, long time. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Galadriel is out. Sam, the Balrog, Durin's Bane, and Saruman is the next wave. So my dad actually, I was showing him the pictures. He's like, "Man, when is Treebeard gonna come out?" I was like, "That's a great idea."
Yeah,
because I always think of the Elven, the Hobbit, and the human characters, the wizards. But I often forget about like the Balrog was a surprise.
Yeah.
That they released an Uruk-hai and an Moria Orc already is a surprise. And the Treebeard would be awesome. So
it would be.
More of those to come, I'm sure, and something cool to look forward to.
All right.
Mind your shelves.
Alrighty. Next up in other corners of Middle Earth here, we have just an update on the long expected party.
Yeah, this is exciting.
This will be in September, and we've asked, we've thrown the invite out there for anybody who wants to come on.
The journey to the Shire.
Come on over to Amanda, Ohio, and we've got Curtis and Kelly. Just kind of said there in the group that they're planning on making their way out. Erica is going to come as well. We've got a bunch of friends and family, some local Ohio, people coming.
It's really exciting. And Curtis and Kelly are going to stay in the bed and breakfast just across the street.
Literally, guys, directly across the street. That's so cool.
And we were just sitting here talking. We're like, is there anything more Hobbity than that?
No, it's great.
They're going to stay at an inn just across the street.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. So
we're very excited about that and to meet you guys. Also, a really generous thing that's happened. Big shocker. Uppers are generous. Chase McKinney contacted us and said, "Hey, I'd like to make a donation to the efforts for the party," and so he is going to donate funds for a banner that we're going to have made. So, Chase, thank you so much for that. Just awesome. Really unnecessary, but we're really grateful for that. So thank you so much for your patronage that way. Beautiful. It's just, you guys are amazing. We love you guys.
Yeah, we can't say it enough, honestly.
No, we really can't. Then we got Richard George and Tony Cooper have alerted us to these extended edition screenings that are happening throughout the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
I think, as I'd like to go at least to one of these. I don't know if we'll be able to fit in our schedule, especially with school starting back up, but they're all on Saturdays, and I think it's successive weeks, at least here in Ohio. It's like the first Saturday, second, and third Saturdays of August. Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King, respectively. So if we could do that, that'd be really, really cool.
Yep.
But if that's around your area, go check that out. It's just cool seeing them in the theater again. I told you about the when my dad talked about on Father's Day when we had him on, talked about the extended edition marathon we did before The Hobbit came out. That was something they released to AMC theaters, and wow, it was almost too much. It was just like a lot in. I talked about that whole the airport sweat that you get and all that stuff. Like you need a shower afterwards. But it's just cool. You pick your favorite one. You go watch it again in the theater, and there's a huge sense of nostalgia there. So
yeah.
Also, Paul Thompson had a cool post in our group about Middle Earth Rugby Club that he kind of drafted up, and just a lot of cool conversation going on there. That was cool. It tickled my rugby and my Tolkien fancy, and it was Wow, I liked it. I liked being tickled that way, so that was really cool. I appreciate it, dude. Beautiful. And I couldn't beat his. His first side was pretty impenetrable, so I tried, but he even came up with a dark side, like Forces of Sauron Rugby Club. And it's impressive, dude. Very good. A couple poll results.
I got the first
So the
one.
first one, we just said, it has to be noted. Which phrasing do you prefer? You shall not pass or you cannot pass. We had 88 of you vote. 90% said they enjoy the movie version. You shall not pass, and 10% said they prefer the you cannot pass book version. So, how did you vote on this?
Let's think about that for a second. You shall not.
Yes.
First, that command, and then just a matter of fact, you cannot pass.
The more I've thought about it, I think someone commented because Mike Upshaw did a similar poll in the group, and I think someone commented. I can't remember who. Apologies, but was talking about that very thing. The difference in you shall not, like, I'm not going to let you, versus you cannot, like, bro, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Because I know what's about to happen.
Right, yeah.
And this bridge is going to be a broken tongue out in the darkness, and you're going down.
That's right. That's right, boy.
So, I don't know. What did you vote for, though?
I think I can't remember. I think I said you shall not pass.
You cannot remember, or you shall not
I shall not remember. You shall not pass. Yeah, I think
it just has more of a cadence to it, I think.
Yeah.
Versus, well, I mean, it depends on how you say it, I guess. You could
see right.
I'm done, guys.
Cadence.
It's been good. I'll see you on the other side.
Yep. He's going to them Gray Havens. He's going to them Gray Havens. All right. Bonus poll this week, my Lord.
I wanted you to read this one on purpose.
Okay. Hey, listen. Listen to the end of the episode and let us know if you had to pick one to accompany you in Middle Earth, who would it be? Johnny Boy or T Swizzle? So Taylor Swift, or John, what's his face? Mayer.
John Mayer? What's his face? Respect the poll, bro.
So 56 votes on this one, and it was 59% for Johnny Boy and 41% for T Swizzle.
So, resting on the laurels of the victory of this poll, you guys, when you voted for Ez, I felt kind of sort of sad, I guess, but this really redeemed, I don't know, these polls for me. I feel really good about this one.
The fantasy draft that went in my favor. Cool.
That was overwhelmingly. Now I know how Taylor feels, honestly. But no, I'm just joking, and I'm just joking about this poll. I thought I'd have fun because I know Megan and Katie, Swish and Flick, really love Taylor Swift, and I just met her and everything, and I love the whole the drama with John Mayer and Taylor Swift. Writing songs about each other, and I think that's kind of why they dated each other in the first place. But
it's just heartbreak warfare, man.
For a little paper doll.
That was before
John's,
the time. Yeah,
actually.
I know.
Okay, all right.
Moving on. L. Eastwood actually made a cool comment. Last episode, we got woke up in here. All right.
I don't even remember saying this.
I
like how she trademarked.
Trademark woke. He's woke. Yeah. So our Belrog got woke because of them, and that caused.
Did I actually say this, or is this one of those Mandela effects?
This was. A couple people actually noted this. I don't remember. I'll tell you what, in editing sometimes, obviously, you guys have noticed mistakes in my previous editing because Ez doesn't listen to 2.5 hours of us just ranting again. I'll listen to it in the car later on, but like during the editing process, I'm like, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I catch stuff, sometimes I don't, but it's just kind of
there it is,
kind of hilarious. So, anyways, and then Ephraim, good friend, actually, I don't even know how Ephraim responded to this. He did the Yoda versus the Balrog, discussion there, and wow, we had some people really leaning towards Yoda would get he'd get taken.
Done?
No, he'd get taken. He'd get taken in this.
Yeah, I mean, he was worn as a backpack, so Gandalf didn't go around on anybody's back unless you count Gwaihir, and who wouldn't,
right.
Okay. There's no easy way to say that.
But the Force is his ally. I just want to,
That's true. That's right.
Now, this was actually really. If you haven't seen this discussion, you should go check it out. If you're a fan of anything Star Wars.
But is he a wielder of the secret fire?
No,
that's what I want to know.
No.
Yoda's a good dude.
Good discussion.
But it was kind of interesting because you were like, hang on, I've seen that before.
Yeah,
and this is weird, okay, Ephraim, because we were
last week
when I was talking about staring at Belrogs. When we were talking about them, I was just looking at images. This is one that popped up. I copied and pasted it into the show notes
in the doc. Yeah,
and Ezra was looking at it last week. He was like, "Where have I seen this before?"
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know. Did I tag you in it or something?" So
yeah,
kind of crazy that
you guys were thinking along the same lines there.
Photos trending or whatnot.
Okay, guys, I have no idea how we're going to do the reread because we got spooked with the bats.
Oh my gosh!
And
servant of the enemy.
Seriously, it is. So we're into the reread here. So let's just go over a couple things. This is we're into Book 2, Chapter 6, Lothlórien. But before we get in there, just a recap from last week, the Bridge of Khazad-dûmi here. We've got a couple comments. We've got a couple comments we want to go over. Shane O'Connor, actually, made a comment on the Facebook thread there when Gollum was trailing the company in Moria.
This was hilarious.
He must have gotten on his skates so he could get to the bridge ahead of them and before it was broken.
Skates on.
He just skates on ahead.
So, and that's a good question actually, because I'm sure there's been discussion about this for, I don't know, like 80 years or whatever.
Yeah.
How did he get out? Did he cross the bridge before? Is there another way he knew about? I mean, we know Gollum is very familiar with all things that have roots and the the bottoms of mountains, and he likes to go underground.
Well, do one of those orc captains possibly know who he is? His word traveled that he
was an orc captain. Yoda, you pulling a Yoda with him, wearing him like a backpack.
Maybe.
Take me this way, precious. I must pursue my photo.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So my thought is maybe he's just allowed to walk through. Here you go. You shall pass. Yeah. I don't know.
Get up is like right before. This is the abridged version,
right? Yeah.
In the full text, Tolkien said, "Yeah, actually."
There you go.
You shall pass, Smeagol. I feel bad for you. You shall not pass.
Right.
Do it in Spain. So, awesome question there, or pondering.
Great comment.
I like that.
Yeah. You got the next one?
Lucas said, finally out of Moria. It did feel like we were there for a long time.
Yeah.
This part of the books is the most terrifying for me, especially when Gandalf reads the chronicle. Drums in the deep. We cannot get out. It is my worst nightmare. That would be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Well, your music made a little better this time. I'm eager to reach Lothlórien. I love that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, in this chapter, we don't quite get I'm just kidding. It just feels like we just did this whole chapter of Lothlórien, right?
Yeah.
We're just...
I'll just say it.
Go ahead
I'll say it because, we say we're a book club. And if you're in a book club and you're sitting around with your friends, sometimes you just got to go, guys, so it's not my favorite chapter. It had some good bits in it, but overall, if I'm saying you should really get into Lord of the Rings, oh, wow. Wow. Really getting Lord of the Rings. You should really get into the Lord of the Rings. And is there a bat in here?
No. That was my foot.
Good Lord. You thought your bat was a foot? Oh, shoot.
What is wrong with you? No, I did not.
Okay. So if you're saying, hey, you need to get into Lord of the Rings. Why? Well, read this chapter,
Here's the one chapter you should
That's read. Right. Read this chapter, and you're going to want to read. Wow, guys, I think my tongue is actually effing up because of yesterday. I'm sorry. Like it's fatigued. If you read this one chapter, you're going to want to read the rest of it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick this chapter to say that about. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of moments I loved. I definitely underlined a ton as per usual.
Yeah.
But not as much.
Right.
And I think really for the pacing of the book, we kind of need that too. Moria was very eventful.
Yeah.
We lost, Rip Gandalf.
That's a good point.
He's gone. We're processing a lot.
Yeah.
If we had another chapter where it was boom, 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 you'd be exhausted. You'd be like, geez, when do I get a break? And we forget about this. Earlier in the book, we had chapters where not a whole lot happened.
Yeah.
We had sections of chapters where nothing really happened. Remember we talked about that. It was the paranoia, the on and off.
You're right.
On and off. But I think because the stakes keep getting higher and higher, that when we have that letdown, it's kind of like, all right, well, nothing really happened in this chapter. Whereas if this book was at the beginning, it would be like, oh my gosh,
So cool.
all the
Yeah.
information.
And it is really cool.
It is. It is.
You know, don't because I didn't dislike it at all. One of the things I thought about was we're going into like a new realm, right?
Yes.
And so we're
And like a different type of elf.
yeah, exactly. We need to kind of take time and explain this, provide some history, you know, really set it up for us, I guess. So before we get to some of the major players, you know. Okay, quick summary for this, though. So the company, they move on. They actually came to Durin Stone at one point, which we're going to talk about. They go take a look at that over by Mirror Lake. They proceed into Lothlórien, land of the Sylvan Elves, right? Sam and Frodo, they get a little messed up in Moria. They get some battle wounds. Yeah. So they are carried by Boromir and so on. The company rests for a bit. Sam's wound is examined by Aragorn. They're good to go, right? They find out about the Mithril coat, which is really cool.
Yeah, kind of blown away by that.
And then we kind of move into the forest of Lothlórien. And from there, I'll make this real short. We just kind of get picked up by a couple of these Sylvan Elves, and they're kind of led through the forest.
Pretty cautiously.
Yeah, we're
making our way towards the city, and it's
Galadriel.
It's sort of,
They're trying to get to the city there, and let me think here for a second, Lane. What was because at one point, well, no, just what's the point here in going? This is just where
there's a line. I can't remember where the line is. I think I have it underlined. We'll go through it, but I think doesn't. Wow, sorry, I just coughed into the microphone. Take that one out as
okay.
I think. Don't they say something about it being the way that they thought Gandalf would have wanted them to take?
That's right.
And so it's kind of Aragorn's way of honoring that. Because I think we have an impasse, not an impasse. We have a moment of tension where Boromir says, hey, every path we've led so far, I've had a bad feeling about, and we've gone and something bad has happened.
Yeah, for sure.
And Aragorn kind of defends it and says, this is the way we're going, Boromir, unless you want to, swim your butt through the ocean all the way around or whatever. He gives him some ridiculous alternative.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, it's fine. I just don't have a good feeling about it again.
Right.
So we start to see that kind of, and it's something I'm realizing too, that I must have just forgotten because of the movieisms, because the movies are easier, right? They're easier. Just plop it on, watch it. It takes way more diligence to go back and read the book. But it's so much better, I think.
Yeah.
But just this whole stuff with Boromir is very subtle.
It is.
It's not like he's coming out right and saying these ridiculous things or saying, having these moments where he's holding the ring, tempted to take it himself, and it's like having to snap him out of it. It's just like this little stuff. Like, I disagree. I don't think we should go here. Okay, well, we're going to.
And I think part of that is his familiar. I can't speak.
Did you get dental work yesterday?
Being familiar with the area in which that they're traveling.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Because if he doesn't really know the area and he kind of feels like he's outside of his comfort zone, perhaps. So I think that might be a part of it. And
he's probably having like issues too with the whole concept that Aragorn is the rightful heir to Gondor.
Yeah.
He's a leader. Good. Boromir's a leader too, and
he's proud.
Where is his place in this future that he hopes to carve and
for sure.
That'd be because he's kind of the man in Gondor.
He is.
You know what I mean? And so he's on this trip, and he hasn't really been given a leadership role in terms of I don't know, directing the course of the fellowship. So
right. Okay, we got a couple points here we want to dive into. So let's start back at the beginning here. Them coming to, and this is great. Mirror.
Yeah, Mirror. It's kind of hard to say, isn't it? So
I call it Mirror.
A mare, M-E-R-E. Did I say that right?
M-E-R-E.
Oh my gosh,
You did.
M-E-R-E.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm very slap happy right now. Is an old English word for lake.
Yeah.
So it's Mirror Lake, which is easier to say than Mirror. So, yeah.
Yep. So they are passing there. Actually, I think what I'd like to do before I forget to do it is
absolutely
the lay of the land here. So we have, and maybe we'll post this up. It's a common. This is a map you guys have all seen of.
Yeah, it's like I think it's
Middle Earth.
the film version of Tolkien's
Yeah.
Middle Earth map.
Right. Okay. So in just outside of the East Gate there, out of Moria, they're following, I believe. So Dimmerel Dale there. There's actually a little arrow pointing back into this little cleft of mountains, and what's the name of that river flowing out of their lane? It's
Celebrant.
Yeah, and it's known as the Silverlode. Is that right? Isn't that what was translated to? Yeah, I got it right here. Let me just double check. Yeah, Silverlode.
There you
go. It's a stream rising, in the eastern Misty Mountains, right, from Mirror Lake in Dimmerel Dale, and it runs, through Lothlórien, where it is met by Nimrodel River, and it empties into the Anduin. So, just some landmarks for you guys as we kind of move through. It's nice to look at a map right before we get into this because. Nimrodel comes up. It's a big deal. They talk about it a lot. It's a reference to, an elf maid that we will talk about here later.
Same name. That's right.
Yeah. And we'll get to the Great River after this chapter. So, and maybe it's next chapter. 2 chapters, I think, where we kind of really take the Great River for a bit. Now, one of the things at the beginning of the chapter that I forgot to mention is I thought this line was super cool, and I can't believe we're starting this far back at the beginning, but not what I planned on doing. They're saying farewell to Gandalf, right? And they talk about he turned to the company. We must do without hope.
I have that underlined too.
Yeah, and so at least we may yet be avenged. Let us gird ourselves and weep no more. Come, we have a long road and much to do. But Gandalf was hope. It's almost like, what hope have we without you, Gandalf?
Absolutely.
And so he is.
It's almost kind of like a lament.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like, you're right. He was, and Gandalf always kind of talked about having hope, right? I mean, so it was sort of his message, and but you don't really imagine Aragorn saying things like that, right? It's almost like he's kind of taken on the personality of Gandalf in a way, too, sort of, right? Because Gandalf was always like, I waited too long, I was too late. Yeah. And now it's like, well, we're going to have to do without hope here for a bit.
Yeah. So okay, so they basically, Aragorn and Gimli talk for a bit here. They look back at the mountain pass, which, so before they go into Moria, they look back at those 3.
They say the 3 peaks again, that's right.
Yeah, and they're kind of like both of those things. This has just been a terrible, they're bested by both, really. They make it out, but at a great loss. And
they even see Aragorn points out, this is where we would have come. He sees the Dimmerel Stair, and this is where we would have come down had we had success in the mountains. Yep. And then you got Gimli, shaking his fist literally at at Caradhras again. How cruel he is. So
as if they're alive.
Yeah.
And perhaps they are. Yep.
So not someone or not something or someone you would want to. I don't know. It's just kind of like it's like a kick in the butt. You're already down, and you look back and you see that you were doomed both ways in a way. I don't think they anticipated losing Gandalf. Other than Aragorn's kind of words that or prophecy, I guess you could call it, that something might happen to Aragorn should we go through Moria. You don't really think that's going to happen. Like even in your worst case, you still have all of you together, especially Gandalf. Gandalf's still there. Like maybe you lose someone, but not him.
Yeah.
And so they lose him, and then they're reminded of their failure previously. So feeling pretty low at this point.
They are. They definitely are, and they need this. So this is a needed chapter for the Fellowship here for sure. But
and maybe that's why. I guess that's another reason. Yeah, there's a lot of healing here that starts to take place, and as they meet Celeborn and Galadriel, that comes as well. So
Yep. And what's his name in this chapter? Haldir?
Yeah, Haldir. That's right. Yep.
So him and his 2 brothers, right? He has 2 brothers, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Which I had totally forgotten.
We forget about them because they don't really speak that tongue, and so they kind of are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah,
okay, but first let's dump in here. Let's take a quick pause and take a dump in this chapter. Here we go. That's so Durin's stone. They turn aside, and Gimli wants to kind of go take a look, right? At this stone.
Brings Frodo with him, right?
Yeah. I think does Sam go with him too? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think Sam. He's not invited, but he kind of
Sam came up behind.
comes behind. Yeah.
And you notice that happens again later in this chapter.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you notice that happens throughout this entire Dagon series.
Recurring theme.
Yes,
it is.
It's this is the first couple times where you see he's not invited to the council. He's not invited here.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah,
invited
that's
to come
a
up in the
great
tree later, but he just goes.
That's right. He
You know,
follows his
he knows-
master.
he does.
Yep.
So they go to take a look, and they actually end up looking into Mirror, and they just wanted to take one good look in Mirror Lake.
I'm sure it's like amazingly stunning. They let me see here. Can I read the description?
Yeah, they stoop in the dark water.
Yeah, they stooped in the dark water. At first, they could see nothing. Then slowly, they saw the forms of the encircling mountains mirrored in a profound blue, and the peaks were like plumes of white flame above them. Beyond, there was a space of sky. There, like jewels sunk in the deep, shone glinting stars. Though sunlight was in the sky above, of their own stooping forms, no shadow could be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Gimli just says, O Cheled, Zaram, fair and wonderful, there lies the crown of Durin till he wakes. Farewell.
Yeah. Yep.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just a pretty neat little.
And the stone
connection to
actually
history.
marks where he first looked upon the lake.
Yeah.
So kind of like a something they put erected
like a memorial
later, or maybe it was a stone there and he happened to be standing next to it, or I don't know. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yep. Okay.
And it just puts them in kind of a reflective mood. Interestingly,
it does, because Sam,
the lake itself reflects, and then it talks about Sam. He's too deep in thought to even answer.
Yeah, when Pippin wants to know what he
another
saw.
kind of mirror.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess really looking ahead to the next chapter,
Absolutely.
it's not the last mirror we're looking in.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. So out of that lake, though, the silver load,
yes,
kind of trickles down, right?
Yes.
And as I said before, it will kind of merge into Nimrodel and then on through Lothlórien.
And you made a good point earlier. We were talking about how they talk about the silver load being icy cold. I just thought about this real quick. Before we were, I think Frodo even mentions, we were in Moria. It was hot. It was warm, which, know, I mean, in the wintertime, let's not forget this is the winter.
Don't forget that. I forgot that this is winter until they mention it several times.
And so they're coming out of that warm, cavernous, all the mines back to reality where it's still pretty cold, and it's a little bit of adjustment for them too. So, yeah. And it's how their hearts are feeling probably too. With Gandalf being gone, I'm sure there's a lot of just cold, kind of barren emptiness that they're feeling. So
that's the road that their road kind of goes along that river, that stream for a bit.
Yeah, we've gone from like following actual roads to following. We're going to follow rivers for a while.
Sure,
we are.
So we are. And along the way, very shortly after that, they're trekking along, tramping along, and Legolas actually then spies. There lies the woods of Lothlórien.
Yeah.
That is the fairest of all the dwellings of my people. There are no trees like the trees of that land. And you get a real good description later on, or is it right in here, of what is in that forest.
Yeah. Well, we were talking because we both love, like autumn's our favorite season.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we've talked about how like it sucks how the leaves are they turn and they're there for like a week and a half and then they all fall off and you don't really get to cherish that beauty for very long. But in Lothlórien,
it's right here. Yeah.
Read it.
So for in the autumn, their leaves fall not, but turn to gold. Not till the spring comes and the new green opens do they fall, and then the boughs, and then they are laid open with yellow flowers, and the floor of the wood is golden. So imagine, basically,
imagine.
Wow, it's kind of like they're, and then a golden roof again. So it's almost like they're always kind of this golden color.
Yeah.
It's and they so the floor is golden, and a golden is the roof, and its pillars are of silver. For the bark of the tree is smooth and gray.
Yeah.
Wow. And they sing songs about this in Mirkwood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty famous.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on a little bit here. So, as time passes, our next point I think is to talk about Frodo and Sam's injury.
Yeah.
Right, because we're moving along. You start to see for several paragraphs here, they talk about how they couldn't really keep up.
Yeah,
they were kind of falling behind.
Yeah, and Aragorn, it's Legolas who actually turns and notices this and calls to Aragorn and says, I think we kind of forgot that they got pretty jacked up there in all the commotion. We had forgotten that Sam and Frodo aren't feeling real good.
Right. Yep.
So Aragorn kind of runs back and stops, and
they're the only ones to really take, besides Gandalf, an injury.
Beating. Yeah.
Over there, right.
Yep. Sam had that scratch on his scalp.
Right. Yeah.
Where he just narrowly missed an orc, and then Frodo was stabbed by that chieftain, right?
Yeah.
As Mithril saved him.
Yeah. Okay.
So they kind of stop things for a second, and Aragorn has some Athelas, some King's Foil left.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That I thought it was kind of interesting.
That he gathered near Weathertop.
There you go. So
and
it's kind of
kept.
And I love that he pointed it out too. He said, it's just cool. I love when journeys, he didn't. Tolkien could have just said he found it anywhere, or maybe that was the point. Maybe he had to have taken it from Weathertop because it didn't grow where they were, but it just takes you back to that time,
right?
And it's interesting. It just reminds you that Frodo's been really hurt before, and he's made it past. So this is just another little
it's a reminder,
mile marker.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's a reminder for sure. And the aroma that comes off of this too is very refreshing to everyone.
Helps the whole company.
Yeah. And so they use it to kind of clean, put it in the water to kind of help clean the wounds.
Yeah.
Sam is lucky because the blade that pierced him wasn't poisonous.
Yes.
Typically they are.
Yes.
And so he gets cleaned up a bit, and then he's going to be all right. So.
Yep.
Yeah, nice little, and it does many times throughout here. It does mention this, the wind, because as they rode, you remember they couldn't feel the wind in Moria. They couldn't really feel anything. It was very
still,
warm, right?
Yep.
It's almost like once they get out.
Imagine how refreshing that would feel.
Yeah, it is. It is sort of a cold refreshment, but it actually is kind of shocking. I think to the hobbits, right?
Yes,
so
Frodo talks about that,
right?
Yeah. Jolt to the system.
Yep. So as they go to approach Frodo, though, to kind of mend him up a little bit, he doesn't want to reveal. Really, I think he's just maybe shy or nervous about revealing that he has something. So once he found out how much it was worth,
right.
I think he was probably like, "Oh, I should probably not maybe mention this that I'm wearing."
I love how Gimli points out. He's like, "I think Gandalf may have underestimated its worth." I think he kind of lowballed it.
Yes, he did.
It's worth even more.
Right.
Way more than the Shire. So that was kind of cool, too.
Yeah, exactly.
To see that.
So they eventually, Aragorn kind of like takes off his tunic and different things, and they see his mithril, and there's a lot of bruising. I think he was hit so hard that the mithril actually kind of like got into his skin.
Yeah, like impaled into his. That's what I was.
Right.
That's how I read it too. Which is just, it's cool details we didn't get from the movie. The movie, it seems like, he got the wind knocked out of him. All's fine.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving on. But no, it was much more serious than that. So, I think you think the mithril coat, you're invincible. I mean, you can still get pretty hurt.
Absolutely.
It keeps you from, further damage.
Right.
But you can still get messed up.
It's light, so that's one of the reasons why they wanted to put it back on.
Yep.
It's not a heavy burden for him to kind of bear.
And Frodo and Aragorn says, I would even sleep in it, man.
Yes.
He says, unless you are in a place where you're for sure safe, which I'm
very
guessing
few times.
Right. You're probably not going to experience as long as this journey's before us. Don't throw it to the side. Trying to think of where he said. Sorry, I didn't want to paraphrase Aragorn's beautiful words there, but it just says make sure you don't lay it off to the side. Keep wearing it at all times.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, after that, I think this next part is worthy of kind of reading just a bit. I'll pick and choose here. But when they had eaten, the company got ready to go on. They put out the fire, hid all traces of it. Then, climbing out of the dell, they took to the road again. They had not gotten far before the sun sank behind the western heights, and great shadows crept down the mountainsides. Dusk veiled their feet, and mist rose in the hollows. Away in the east, the evening light lay pale upon the dim lands of distant plain and wood. Sam and Frodo, now feeling eased and greatly refreshed, were able to go at a fair pace, and so they're able to kind of keep up with the company, and they needed to because they're moving about another 3 hours.
I love that too because I think the further we get into the story, it's easier to pass over those descriptions of Middle Earth.
Yeah,
he does such a good job of painting a picture for us. And I think sometimes, because the story just stakes keep getting higher and higher, and you've got stuff with the plot that changes all the time, and it's like it's nice to sit back and take that in because he's Bob Ross in it. You know what I mean? He's giving us a mental image of okay. Ez is about to lose his mic, guys. This has never happened before. He's always looking over. I don't know what is transferred between me and him, but I feel very calm. I feel very together. And I look over at Ez. He's always sweating. The mic. He's normally looking at me. He's like, dude, make sure that stays on there. Because we have those arms that reach up and hang.
Sorry,
so
guys.
if something happens, that mic falls.
It almost fell off.
I'm dead.
It almost fell off there. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Tighten that.
It's tight. It's tight. You know.
All right.
But no. Back to that point though. Right
had
here.
A point? Wow, that's a first.
You had a point. Yeah, I know. Just talking about the idea that we need these descriptions and things, and here he continues with, "It was dark, deep night had fallen. There were many clear stars, but the fast waning moon would not be seen till late." So really, just kind of setting us up there. Gimli and Frodo are at the rear, and this is, I think, where you had mentioned several times we kind of hear about Gollum in this chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting more. It's getting more and more in our face that there's something following them.
Yes.
And we're learning about who that might be.
Well, we notice here, Gimli kind of breaks the silence and says, there are no goblins near, or my ears are made of wood. That's a new expression.
Uh-huh.
Hey, wooden ears. It is to be hoped that the orcs will be content with driving us from Moria. Because we remember at the beginning of this chapter, we're concerned that Aragorn is really pushing us to move on because, they know that orcs will often pursue, their enemy for miles, especially if one of their captains has been slain. So, they definitely kicked some butt with the captains. Aragorn cutting heads off, Boromir, slashing limbs away, and so that's something that is a real fear of theirs. So, thinking that they're content just to have driven us from Moria, and maybe that was all their purpose, and they had nothing else to do with us or with the ring. Yeah. Though orcs will often pursue, foes for many leagues if they have a fallen captain.
And don't you love it that he checks his blade sting from time to time, right?
I love this.
It's just like let me pull it out real quick. Oh, it's dull.
It's almost like checking your watch in a way.
Yeah. Kind of.
I don't know. I just think they probably don't check
maybe
objects too much.
Maybe it's as casual as just like, let me check this real quick.
Yeah, let me just pull it out. Okay, it's not blue. All right, we're good. That's a decent analogy, right? Checking your watch, checking your...
I don't know, but...
Well, because my watch glows blue. So maybe that's what I'm thinking. Hey, that's a stretch.
Okay, it's a stretch. But
let's get back to Jaren Tolkien here.
So he checks that because he's been hearing this quick patter of feet. And, he looks back real quick, and it's kind of what causes Gimli to what is it? What do you see, right? He says, I don't know.
And he tells him
what
he's been kind of hearing. And
I thought I heard feet. I thought I saw light, like eyes. I have thought so often since we first entered Moria. So he feels like they're being followed. He's felt for some time that there's something after him. Yeah. And actually, when he looked back, I think he spooked Gollum, who was behind him, and he goes quiet. Because when Gimli tries to listen, he hears nothing.
Right.
Obviously.
Which would also make Frodo feel even crazier, too. Because he's got to be thinking, with his heightened senses. We got to remember that, too.
I just think it's, I mean, their sight, I think we... I don't know how, if you can, sometimes people try to
You gotta sound like me right now.
I know. Got a real butterbur moment there. How do I spit this out?
Dental work.
How do I spit this out? No, I still can't do it. I still can't make the comparison. Okay, elves are pretty good at seeing things.
You're trying to say how hobbits have an elevated sense, right?
Yes, but I'm like, how do you compare that to the elves? There are times
we need a conversion chart. I bet one of those Mead.
Dude, they talk about how sneaky, and how stealthy the elves are. I like to think in my own mind, and I know, maybe you guys can talk about this in the group a little bit. I like to think in my own mind that the hobbits...
They're part elven.
That I think possibly that they
have
are.
pointy ears, guys.
They do. I also believe that they... one of the reasons Gandalf picks Bilbo is because of their incredibly light on their feet, and they're very hard. If they can go unnoticed, they're small... they can kind of, if they really want to sneak around, they can.
And doesn't Haldir say there are elves in this part of the world too? I mean, not elves. Sorry.
Hobbits.
Just cut that part. Hobbits.
Right.
Right. Like, so where else has he seen hobbits? Not in Middle Earth. Where else? What's he talking about? I want more
what's he-
details.
Yeah,
Holly.
that's a line that kind of stood out to us later.
And I
for
was
sure.
even thinking, as even beyond that, his heightened sense since he's been stabbed by the Morgul blade. You know, they talk about how his vision at night is better.
Yeah.
You know, along with Gimli and Gandalf in the mines, he felt like he could see farther and more clearly in the dark. You know, he's kind of not totally just in Middle Earth now. He's in that Wraith world as well, that other dimension, if you will. So I was thinking even his senses that way too. But he's got to be wondering if he's going crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
Since no one else is hearing it, you know, is it just me, or is it because of this heightened sense? You know, every time he tries to point it out, no one else knows what he's talking about. So it's not like in the movie where, you know, he goes up to Gandalf and he says, "What is that?" "Oh, that's Gollum down there."
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. Yeah, he's been following us for 3 days." "Oh, well, that's that."
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that clears that up.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think you guys kind of understood what I was trying to say. I don't know. So let's move on. So the night wind continues to blow. This chill is coming up the valley to meet them.
I'll take it. I'm ready for that weather, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get there.
Honestly. And before them, a wide gray shadow loomed, and they heard an endless rustle of leaves like poplars in the breeze, right?
Yeah.
And Legolas is crying, "Lothlórien, Lothlórien," you know?
He's getting amped.
Yeah, he's getting pumped, right? So we have come to the eve of the Golden Wood. Alas, that it is winter, you know. So they've come at winter, and so yeah. I mean, really, this part they kind of move into the forest. They're right there, knocking on the door essentially, and they move in.
Knock, knock, knocking on Lorien's door.
Jeez.
I'm sorry, dude.
You're fine. Okay, hope comes back here. Okay, so Lothlórien said Aragorn, "Glad I am to hear again the wind in the trees. We are still little more than 5 leagues from the gates, but we can go no further. Here let us hope that the virtue of the elves will keep us tonight from the peril that comes behind." So I think he really did anticipate something following them, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Because it's not normal that someone's trekking through, you know, Moria with a wizard.
That's
going to stand out
every week.
That's going to stand out a little bit.
That's absolutely right.
Old Belroggy that was there is not to be found anymore, so we might want to call the big boss and let him know.
Is that a Belrog burp, or are you just excited to see me? Earthquake. And we also learn here, too, that this place is very special to Aragorn.
Yes, yeah.
So it's kind of cool. We get this exclamation, and it's almost like just being back, you know, hearing the wind in the trees, probably smelling smells that he hadn't smelled in a while. It's taken him. It's good for Aragorn's soul, I think. You know, having just lost Gandalf and this new burden of it being like pretty much he is the one calling the shots. You know, moving him up higher into the leadership, which he'll, you know, eventually take on fully. And this gives him a little bit of, you know, when you just need a pick-me-up. You know what I mean? You got a big responsibility. It's on your back, and you get a little pick-me-up. I think that's kind of how he's feeling here.
Yeah. I got a question for you. So as we get into, we're coming up with a point where Boromir kind of stands in front of Aragorn and doesn't move and kind of wants to kind of have this little.
Is there no other way?
Yeah, chat here. I mean, yeah, like what?
No one asked you, Boromir.
Yeah, and it's something you had said earlier, and he talks about why are we going this way, you know, and he had heard ill things of, you know,
you go in, you never come out.
Lothlórien, right? Yeah, and Aragorn kind of scolds him that if the wise have, you know, kind of perverted the way in which we think of Lothlórien, then there's the issue.
Yeah,
you know that you've perverted. It's still a good place. And I think the question is, where else would you go? As I look at the map, it's like the only other place that you could go is south along the mountain range. I don't see any path there or any road. They'd be going across country, which would be tough.
He says unless you would go back to the Moria Gate, or scale the pathless mountains, or swim the great river all alone.
Yeah,
I mean, he's showing him how he's like there is no other way,
yeah.
Boromir. So that's cool that you don't want to go through Lothlórien, but we really don't have a choice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's not that bad of a place.
Right.
You know, we might have some help here and some allies here.
Right. Yeah. So to move us on a little bit here, they get a mile into the forest. This is when the Silver Lode kind of joins up with Nimrodel, right? And that's Legolas points that out. Of this stream, the Sylvan Elves made many songs long ago, and we still sing them in the north. So kind of remembering the rainbow and the falls, and he's explaining the golden flowers that floated in its foam.
I know you're flowing, but can I go back?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, real quick. Dude, is there guano on your head? Ezra's rubbing his head like I don't.
Did you see that?
What was it?
I don't know. Something.
I didn't see it. What?
Is it a fly?
Come on, dude. Seriously?
I don't know. Bat droppings? I have no idea.
Don't even.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's interesting. Right before you were, moving us along here, I got to bring us back. I apologize.
Oh, great, cool. I go 3 steps forward, and you take us 8 back.
Call me Boromir. He says, "Then lead on, but it is perilous." And Aragorn says, "Perilous indeed, fair and perilous, but only evil need fear it, and those who bring some evil with them, follow me." So it's kind of interesting. He's saying like, we're on this good quest. We're bringing no evil. But they kind of are.
They are.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think he says that to kind of settle Boromir. But at the same time, it's interesting the irony of that statement. Like they are carrying the greatest evil. Not with evil intentions, but, what is more evil than the ring? Nothing that we know of. So, boom. And back to where you were. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So he's talking about Nimrodel, and he's encouraging them to cross. It's just saying... Basically, they put their feet in. He wanted to put his feet in for just a bit because it had this like healing, refreshing, power about it. And the company actually wades across, and they all kind of get refreshed. So that's pretty neat.
Did you ever do that at Dry Creek back home?
Oh, we used to wade in the creek all the time.
Was it ever like nice and chilly?
Oh man, yeah. Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah. And always really clear too. I actually, honestly, when I was reading this, because it's not very, it could come up in some parts to your knees. If you get in one of the over by the bank, you could get up to your waist. And when it rains, you could possibly. We used to get tubes and kind of, go down the creek. But it did kind of remind me of just waiting, putting your feet in there for a little bit, and walking across. I'm
kind of envious that you grew up with. I always wanted like I guess where I lived, I didn't live that far from Kokosing. A couple blocks down the road, but having a creek run right through your backyard, man.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's pretty magical.
Yeah. And I really did think of that when I was reading them. Just putting their feet in,
whatever.
Getting cooled off, man. Getting cooled off.
That one's for Goldberry.
All right, so oh yeah. Okay. At length, a silence fell. They heard the music of the waterfall running sweetly in the shadows. Almost Frodo fancied that he could hear a voice singing, mingle with the sound of the water. And that's when Legolas kind of asked, "Do you hear the voice of Nimrodel?"
Yeah. It's so cool. So this, like her spirit, her haunting call, her loss is still echoes through here. It's pretty amazing.
Well, it's the first time that I actually really have understood that that the river is named after Nimrodel herself.
Made there was of old a shining star by day. Her mantle white was hemmed with gold, her shoes of silver gray. Yeah. You want the next verse?
No, I think that was good.
Okay, sorry.
That was good.
I just think it's interesting. Most of these songs are very like loud, boisterous, or I don't know, just this one's like in such a soft voice.
It's a soft,
it's hardly to be heard, and it almost kind of mimics. Do you hear the voice of Nimrodel?
Yeah, it's real soft. Isn't it?
Legolas is almost like he's hearing the soft call. Can you guys barely hear it? I'm going to sing it in that same tone.
Yeah,
it's just interesting. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Like a star was bound upon her brows, a light was on her hair, as sun upon the golden boughs in Lothlórien the fair. I don't know.
Man, come on!
It's softer.
Get out.
It's like a softer.
It is
something.
It is, and we're singing about a beautiful elf maiden, so why not sing?
Another
quietly?
thing. This song, he didn't. Even, it's a long one, and he didn't even get. He couldn't remember all the verses.
You say he couldn't remember, and that also that it was too. Wasn't it sad?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I've forgotten much. It is long and sad, and it tells how sorrow came upon Lothlórien. Her hair was long, her limbs were white, and fair she was and free, and in the wind she went as light as leaf of linden tree.
Yeah.
Beside the falls of Nimrodel, by water clear and cool, her voice as falling silver fell into the shining pool. Where now she wanders none can tell, in sunlight orange shade, for lost of yore was Nimrodel, and in the mountains strayed.
Yeah.
You want to read some more? This is beautiful to read.
This actually is, and
falls right off your
sometimes you forget that you need to do you need to cover the song.
Yeah, it's telling her story.
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
one actually does tell
Yes, it
her
does.
story.
And it's pretty. It's not so cryptic. I think sometimes it's kind of hard because a lot of names are thrown out there, but this really just tells her story in a way that's very understandable.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times elves can kind of be that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So this one, let's read a little bit here. The elven ship in haven gray beneath the mountain lay, awaited her for many a day beside the roaring sea. They mention a lot in this chapter about leaving, sailing away, not sailing away. Can they get out? It's something that the elves in this area
Feeling kind of hemmed in.
think about.
I think is the term, isn't it? Feeling hemmed in. Yeah.
Yeah, a wind by night in the northern lands arose and loud it cried and drove the ship from elven strands across the streaming tide.
Yeah.
When dawn came dim, the land was lost, the mountains sinking gray, beyond the heaving waves that tossed their plumes of blinding spray. You got the next part?
Amroth beheld the fading shore, now low beyond the swell, and cursed the faithless ship that bore him far from Nimrodel.
Yeah.
So these lovers that,
Right.
you guys know what happened, but they decided to leave Middle Earth to Valinor. They got kind of separated in the mountains, and Amroth ended up making it to the Grey Havens before the rest of the party in Nimrodel, and waited there for her, but a storm came and pushed their ship out. So I'll just keep reading. Of old he was an elven king, a lord of tree and glen, when golden were the boughs in spring in fair Lothlórien. From helm to sea they saw him leap, and as arrow from the string, and dive into the water deep as mew upon the wing.
Shiminy. The wind was in his flowing hair, the foam about him shone. Afar they saw him strong and fair, go riding like a swan. But from the west has come no word, and on the hither shore no tidings elven folk have heard of Amroth evermore.
So a sad story. Like he's drowned. And then we learned that Nimrodel kind of wandered for a long time and then just was never heard from again. Like she kind of got lost in the mountains. They don't know what her fate.
It says she was lost far in the south in the passes of the White Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she came not to the ship where Amroth, her lover, waited for her. But in the spring, when the wind is in the new leaves and the echo of her voice may still be heard by the falls that bear her name. So just talking about that voice that they're kind of hearing.
Yeah.
Man.
It's just it's a very like dramatic, tragic love story that, it seems to happen to elves a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely beautiful to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I did have, they talk about
her house.
the wind was in the flowing hair. No, not that part yet. The wind was in his flowing hair. The foam about him shone. Afar they saw him strong and fair, go riding like a swan. And I can't remember exactly. I'm sure this is noted because Weta took all our details from the story. But the ships that in Lothlórien when the Fellowship sets out, you see Galadriel is she in a ship that looks like a swan? They have some kind of homage to a swan
on the front, right? Is it
like the bow is. What's the front of a ship?
The thing on the front.
Yeah. Oh gosh, dude. Okay,
Yeah.
we live in Ohio. There's a lot of water around, so the front of the ship.
Looks like
Lake
a swan.
Erie is just right up there. There's tons of ships, but anyway, the front has that swan homage.
Yeah.
And you brought up the talking about the sea, and it's so interesting too because I think about, and it's from playing these clips and trying to find good soundscapes for us. Have you ever noticed? And actually, it was in Canada when I was in Canada, just sitting outside, taking in the sounds. It had a real windy day.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's amazing to me how similar the sound of wind through trees and the sound of the sea.
Yep.
They are almost the same exact sound. I mean, they parallel each other exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool how they're in Lothlórien. It's windy. You talk the details about the wind blowing through the poplar trees and how that would sound like the sea. And their decision, do they go to the sea? Can they make it? How can they?
Right.
And then this background story of this tragic love that was kind of decided because of the sea and because of the decision to go to Valinor. It's just cool.
It is.
A little
it is
motif
really neat.
that kind of weaves its way through, and very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Correct.
Dude, I love you, man. I love doing this.
I love you too. And we love all of you listening, by the way.
We do.
Just
Yes,
so
we
you guys
do.
know. Thanks for putting up with us.
We're all having fun, right?
Yeah, are we? Yeah.
Wow.
So no,
He's back.
he's back. Her house, man. Can you talk
Yes.
about the coolest tree house that's ever been
Oh, that's right.
that's
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
been built, right? I mean, so he talked about that the fact that she would live at that her house could be up in the trees, and you start to understand
The different
their
elven-
love of just the way
Yeah.
of culture, I guess, right? That they live up in the trees, very comfortable there, and things. And actually, I think Legolas decides he wants to climb one.
Yeah.
So just to kind of move us on a little bit, he decides that he wants to climb one, and isn't that when he comes across a couple friends?
Yeah, that's
Friends, foes? I'm not sure
right. That's right.
what they are.
We're
Right?
not really sure yet. That's right.
What's the word that they cry out here? So
Daro?
is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, oh gosh, Daro. It is said a communing tone. What's the one before that though? He says, "I will climb up," said Legolas. "I am at home climbing."
The melon
trees.
The melon trees. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think that probably is I think that's the Elvish spelling. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I've always seen it, and you see it here spelled later differently, Mallorn, which is Malorn. So the
Okay.
Malorn tree. So these great trees that are found in Lorien, and they came from, I did a little bit of research before, they came from Valinor. Okay, and they were also in Numenor.
Wow.
And they say, real quick, because we don't need to go on forever. I mean, it's beautiful. We could, but
Yeah.
we got some more to get through here. They're immense in size, so which makes me think of like redwoods, right? They're giant, but they're a lot like, what did it say? Very similar to birch trees.
Okay.
Bark was smooth and silver gray, and the leaves were green on top and silver underneath.
Okay.
So, and it's crazy because in Canada where we go, there's tons of birch trees. So this is real fresh in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And they have that beautiful bark that you can peel off, and it's so papery.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the best kind of fire starter. If you're having a fire, you have some birch
Yeah.
bark, boom, goes right up.
Right,
Good
yeah.
kindling.
Yeah.
But anyway, just so that's kind of, so it's, think of a redwood sized birch tree.
And that's neat because it
kinda
is
what they
much
are.
smoother. It's much more.
Yeah.
It's not that thick bark like
Yeah,
you would
thick,
imagine
rough, right.
on like an oak tree or something.
Yeah. Or even
you
like
know?
a redwood. Their bark is,
Yeah.
super kind of gnarled and yeah.
So,
Cool.
So Daro, right? In this commanding tone, he's trying to climb up the tree. Legolas is on his way up, and he gets back down. He kind of hugs the tree, and he says, "Stand still, don't move, don't speak." Right?
And he's afraid here.
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
He's urgent. Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
then
in
and
surprise
then,
and fear.
Then there's the sound of laughter. They startled him.
Yeah.
A little bit, right? And he's in their turf. I mean, this is
Right. So they're messing with him too.
just a little
Yeah,
bit. I
yeah.
thought they were, but
Yeah.
and so they're speaking back and forth. Frodo's kind of picking some of it apart, but really they're speaking in
He doesn't. Yeah,
a
he's
tongue
never
that
heard.
it's not this it's not one he's familiar with though.
Right.
Even in Elvish, right? Okay.
Wouldn't you have loved to see Legolas like this though?
Yes.
In the movie, like kind of thrown off for a second, not really in his, because he's always calm and cool and
Yeah.
collected. It would have been cool to see him a little like shit his pants for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Use a Malorn leaf to kind of wipe himself there. Whoa, Ez.
Hey,
Ez,
now.
come on now. Dude, you know what I've been thinking lately, and I mean, I don't know, call me crazy, but I think at some point, I don't know.
Oh boy.
I think we should start a Lord of the Rings podcast.
Yeah, I think we should because this one's getting derailed every 2 seconds.
Oh my! He's back, folks. Gotta get the name just right, though.
Yeah.
Let's kind of spitball it. What do you think?
I'm thinking Mirror Lake Podcast.
Gosh.
Right.
And our kind of our subtitle could be a time for reflection. How about Gird Yourself Podcast?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
We could maybe talk about like grooming and stuff and having fortitude and strength.
Right. Okay.
What do you think?
I'm thinking, how dare you doing?
Wow.
Who came up with that one?
He who would pun would pick a pocket.
How dare?
How about Kaza Dumford Bed and Breakfast Podcast?
Yeah, I like it.
Kurt and Kelly will know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Saving Private Baggins Podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that one. How about The Peekins Are Lit Podcast?
Oh.
Getting closer?
We're getting closer. How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you? Wow.
How dare you interrupt this?
Beautiful.
Podcast. All right. Yeah. So let's see. So they go back and forth and talk. Legolas to his kin, and they determine that that they're okay with like Frodo coming up, right?
Yeah.
So he says, yes, they are elves, said Legolas, and they say that you breathe so loud that we could shoot you in the dark. Sam hastily put his hand over his mouth, but they also say that you need to have no fear. They have been aware of us for a long while. They heard my voice across the Nimrodel and knew that I was one of their northern kindred.
Okay, so we love talking about the Frodo-Elven connection.
Yep.
So why do you think they asked just Frodo to come up? I mean, just coincidence? Is it because he's elf friend and they've heard about him? He's getting this reputation from all the elves. Because he's kind of like Bilbo. He's a curiosity. He's a hobbit that knows Elvish.
Did they just know this name, Frodo, though? Because did they get some
word from Elrond?
From Elrond.
Okay, never mind. I was hoping that'd be a big, deep thing.
No. It could be. He's also elf friend, though. He's an elf friend.
Just forget about it. It was bad.
What? I thought. What?
I thought it was good. I'm just kidding. I just wondered. I don't know. I was just kind of. It just hit me right now. I'm like, they just asked. I mean, surely they know Aragorn. I mean, they even say later, I know, his name is known to us.
Yeah.
But they want Frodo to head on up there.
But you also don't get the conversation between Legolas and, like they have this their own tongue. So maybe some things were said, and that's the one that they decide to, call up, right?
Good point.
So the ladder comes down, right? Makes it a little easier to climb up these trees, and they head on up. And when Frodo came at last up to the top there, he found Legolas seated with 3 other elves. They were clad in shadowy gray and could not be seen among the tree stems unless they moved suddenly. And I thought that was kind of neat. So they really blend in, right? And so he has a nice little conversation with them. And this is where we kind of learned that Haldir basically doesn't get a chance to use the common tongue much. They're very much secluded, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They don't. They have some of them, and he's one of them. Haldir is one who goes out and kind of scouts to see where the enemy's at to make sure he's someone who they would send to maybe Rivendell, Mirkwood, different places to pass messages or something. So, and his brothers obviously aren't as familiar with the common tongue, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. And you made a great point too when we were looking at the map. Ezra got his compass out again, and we were looking at the lay of the land. You say that a lot, by the way. The lay of the land. That's got to be what it is. I think that's the it's sort of like, I think it's the way your mind works, which is a beautiful thing because mine doesn't. But they are kind of like a little island. You know what I mean? They've got the Misty Mountains to the west.
Yeah,
they're located. It's not a huge forest. They're on the river. Then they've got the Great River to their east. They've got Fangorn a bit to the south. They've got nothing really to the north, and then over to the northeast they've got Mirkwood. Dol Guldur is nearby. We'll find out.
Yep.
So they're sort of isolated.
And I mean, I don't know. They're going to talk about it here in a bit as to they're worried that their way to the Grey Havens could be actually cut off, or that they could lose life along the way. At one point, and I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, as they get deeper, they sleep here for a couple nights, or for a night or so, and we have that orc troop that kind of passes underneath.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we'll skip ahead just a tidbit. There's a point in which I was kind of confused by the directions. So I looked at the map to see where it was that they were looking at, because they reference Dol Guldur. They reference, basically this formless, it's the in-between. It's the, you imagine, it's a river. They're looking through or past the Anduin at one point. It's when they get closer to the city, and they rise up the hill or whatever.
Yep.
And I didn't understand it, and so I had to come look at a map, and it was they're describing the. It's amazing how far they could see.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And kind of, just to look ahead.
And I misremembered where Dol Guldur was.
Me too.
So I imagined them seeing even farther than and I was like, how is that possible that they're seeing? I thought that was like
North Mirkwood. That's what I thought.
I did too. I thought it was much closer to Erebor than it really is. So it's just amazing because it's such a big world. And you gotta, unless you've looked at the map for years, and even if you have, it's really helpful to go back and, as you're reading, follow along with this map to see, okay, all right, this is what they're talking about. Here we are. This is why they're choosing this path, kind of a thing. It's just amazing.
Here we go. Here's the line that you were talking about. So back to where we were at. They're talking about, as he's speaking here, he introduces his brother as, what is it? Ramil?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it.
Ramil?
Rumor
mill?
Sure. Yeah, and how do you say his other brother? Orphan? Orof?
Yeah, I don't think he had parents.
I don't know how to pronounce
Orphan, yes,
the
I
names.
think so.
So he mentions his brothers. And then, so right there, if you look, this is the line you were looking for. We have heard rumors of your coming for the messages of Elrond passed by Lorien on their way home up the Dimril Stair. We had not heard of hobbits or halflings for many a long year, and did not know that any yet dwelt in Middle-earth.
What is that? Dude, okay.
Dude, hold on.
What does that mean?
Shut this thing down. What does that mean?
Hobbit's Guide Home. I don't know, man. I don't know.
You do not look evil. Okay.
So does that mean there's hobbits in Valinor? Does that mean there's some island we don't know about that they came from? Because their origins are a mystery, right? They're kind of a mystery.
They are. And he's saying, we had not heard of hobbits, or halflings for many a long year, and did not know that any yet dwelt in Middle-earth.
I got it.
Yeah.
So in The Hobbit, Bilbo gets kind of mistaken as a rabbit, right? By the trolls,
Yep.
right? Because he's kind of a bouncy little thing. He's tiny, and his hobbit sounds like rabbit. Maybe that's what the elves did. Okay, so they woke the trees up, and the trees started talking. Maybe one of them was like, "Let's turn some of these rabbits into little folk." Boom.
Hey,
and they woke the rabbits up, and they became hobbits. They sort of evolved. I don't know. I think Darwin made his way there when he was on the Beagle, and he drew him back to the rabbit. Wow. Good night, everyone.
That sounds a little crazy.
Well,
but I don't know, man. I think it's something it caught your attention.
In
all
seriousness,
mine.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
When I first showed up tonight, we had talked about that. Like, what does that line mean?
What does that mean?
What are they talking about?
It's a little thing that you could skip over and just be like, oh, okay, well, but it's something to think about. Like, so that the implication is why it gets me. That means that what he's saying is, he's not aware that hobbits were in Middle-earth. That means he's aware that they are somewhere else.
That's what I was taking.
Right. And where else is that?
No idea.
So that's kind of cool. That's something to chew on. And guys, go crazy. Write your ideas. Start a thread on Facebook. I want to hear everyone's ideas.
Me too.
So.
Yeah. Now they get into the company. They basically say, Elrond asked us to befriend you. You're coming with one of our kindred. So you guys are good. How many of there are you? And he says 8. But he only describes 7. He leaves out Gimli.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He describes the 4 hobbits and the men and himself. And he finally has to admit the 8th is a dwarf. And Haldir's not happy about that.
No,
is
he's
he?
not.
No,
I haven't had dealings with dwarves since the dock days.
Yeah. But he tries to explain that he's one of Dane's trusty people from the Lonely Mountain, friendly to Elrond.
Frodo even say he was chosen by Elrond to come on this
exactly.
quest. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, anyways, that they kind of table it, I think, for now. And, basically they have to stay there. The hobbits get to stay up with the elves, and the rest of them had to go under. And basically the dwarf is under Legolas's watch. He's kind of like, this is on you.
Right.
You keep an eye on him.
Yeah. Passing the buck too. It's like, that's your responsibility.
Yeah, we'll hold you accountable.
Right.
Okay?
You Mirkwood elf.
I mean, seriously.
No, seriously though.
But seriously.
So
let's seriously get back into this. So once, they're trying to get to sleep. And I thought this was kind of neat. It's just something about hobbits, right? They don't do well sleeping up in trees.
No.
They couldn't really get to sleep.
Right.
They had some trouble. And Frodo seems to have, we've mentioned in past chapters, this power or something that might be directing his course a little bit. He wakes for some reason, he starts to drift up to sleep.
Yeah.
And he wakes, and it's when Gollum is trying to climb up the tree. And he looks down. It's because they make eye contact, I think, that Gollum kind of shifts around the other side of the tree and just disappears. And they actually, Haldir and those guys let him go because he wasn't an orc. He's not a goblin. They didn't know really what he was. He looked kind of like a hobbit to them a little bit. And
he thought it was a hobbit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they kind of...
Because of his skill in the trees. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So... and I'd already kind of mentioned that the orcs are passing underneath. They're about 100 strong, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I think at one point they're like three versus 100, and they weren't counting in the rest of the company, but still,
right.
They weren't sure if they, let them get deeper. They spread the word. They probably swing through the trees like Tarzan and pass the word, and they slay those orcs later on.
They slay them.
Big time.
They slay them. That's the other thing about elves that's so interesting too, is they're so wise in when they pick their battles.
Yeah.
Right? That even factors. I mean, you can imagine a bunch of guys just being like, all right, let's go take them out. Maybe men would be a little more like hasty or I don't know. It's just interesting how they're like, nah, it's not the time.
Right.
Even though I don't know.
No, you're
elves
right.
kick butt. So.
Yeah, they probably could have taken them. But
yeah, but not, yeah, you're right. Not
I don't know, though. I'm actually getting, I think you're getting more.
But they're not stormtroopers. You're right.
Right. But I think in this when you compare the movies and the book, my level of I don't know what you call it. Like the elves don't seem as boss in the books. Sometimes just in the way in which like the number in which Legolas was killing orcs and stuff. Maybe that picks up later on.
Well, and maybe
orcs
are kind of simplified in the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like elves at one time, right?
That's true. We don't really get that mention of hierarchy. We kind of can see leaders.
Yes, we can.
We don't really get the...
Yeah, right. I mean, they were... Yeah, so maybe they're kind of underestimated in the film. They're made to be like, just easily slain. And maybe it's not so true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
And, I mean, you're right. It probably depends on the orc.
Yeah.
Everybody's orcing for the weekend.
They are.
So
anyways, they had sent... Orphan, his brother, on ahead to kind of warn everybody, and they're going to take care of those orcs later on. So,
I think it was interesting how he noted too that it was like it saddened him to know that they stepped in the river, that their cursed feet had tainted that beautiful water.
Yeah, that was not good. So,
and also just for a second that hearing the faintly a sound like sniffing, we have sniffing yet again. Going back to Gollum. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, actually, you're right. We did have that reference.
But so don't forget it.
Do not.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But really, I thought it was so interesting to think about how close Gollum is getting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting bold. Okay. And he's got to be driven by that. They're alone.
Yeah.
I could get that ring pretty easily.
Yep.
Could even take out a hobbit if I needed to. I've done it before.
Yeah. Do you think that's why Frodo was... part of it's them sleeping up in the trees, but...
Yes, I do.
He's awakened.
Yes, I do.
By something.
And let's talk about this for a second.
Just in time.
What you just said, is it the ring? So is it the ring saying, "Wake up because you're taking me exactly where I want to go, Frodo"? Possibly. If Gollum gets me, that's a step back.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
That's a good point.
That's crazy. Because we forget about this. I mean, we get so caught up in that's the genius of Tolkien. There's so many layers. But the ring is a character too. The ring is the will of Sauron. So, yeah, and the power it has over an individual to wake someone up from sleep.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's crazy. That's a great
direct
point,
his course
dude.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Haldir, they sleep, and he kind of moves them on. They need to kind of cross the river and continue into Lothlórien, and there's just a lot. There's just a bit here about them crossing. They have the ropes that they send across the river.
That's right. Yeah,
and to help them get across, it's a little stronger.
The elves can do it on one. Everyone else has to do it on three.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, because it's Legolas who kind of says they don't have the skill to walk this path, right? So, which is interesting. Let's see. Where else do we want to go here? Now, friends, said Haldir, you have entered into Lorien or the Gore. It's sort of like the center. The way I understood this is they call it like a spearhead, right? It's almost like the trying to understand. Almost like it's well, it is what it is. It's a spearhead. It's in the center of the forest, right? Is that kind of we're getting?
Yeah.
It was still pretty big. It's not like it's a small area or something like that.
Right, and they're kind of being funneled into, this. Well, and if you look at the map for a second here, okay, now I lost my way here, buddy. But even the way those two rivers come together, they're funneling into the forest.
Oh, okay.
You've got Celebrant, and
you're
you've got
right, because they actually were just talking about
Nimrodel, and it forms kind of a spearhead, leading right into, further into Lothlórien.
Okay.
So.
Now, this is the fun part about this, and the blindfolding.
Right. Blindfold.
As it was agreed, because it was agreed. Legolas made the agreement. Gimli wasn't a part of it, but it's time to be blindfolded, and Gimli is not gonna have this.
No, he feels insulted. He feels slighted.
Yeah.
Slighted?
That's what
that was very correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't you too?
Yeah, because he's the only one.
Right.
Why pick on the dwarf?
Exactly.
It just shows that there's a deep divide. There's some tension there and things. And so Aragorn, being the leader that he is, kind of says, he's uncomfortable. We'll all be uncomfortable. This is not fair.
Just another reason I love Aragorn.
And actually, Gimli says, mates, you're good. Just
Legolas.
Just Legolas. I don't need all you guys to be blindfolded. Just him. What's fair is fair.
I'm an elf and a kinsman here, he says.
And I think he knew how much
becoming angry.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And Aragorn talks about the stubbornness of dwarves, and then he talks about the stubbornness of elves.
Yep.
And
isn't it funny too? How many friendships form this way?
Yeah.
Where you start as like these enemies, then you start ribbing each other, and before long, you're best friends. I mean, ours has kind of been the opposite of that.
Well,
we were really close, and now we sort of hate each other.
Yeah. I know. Gimli though actually laughs. Suddenly he's what a merry troop of fools we shall look.
Yeah.
Will Haldir lead us on a string, like many blind beggars with one dog? And
he's probably he probably feels that little burst of happiness or laughter, or whatever, probably is brought on by Aragorn's gesture too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That would make you feel real disarmed. Like, this guy is the one we should follow. Like, what a good.
He's willing to,
Yeah.
He's comfortable in this area, and he knows that it'll ease Gimli, and he needs Gimli to continue on with him.
He does.
They actually tell Gimli at one point, you can't turn back.
Yeah.
There is no option here. It is and Haldir kind of said, I've kind of already bent the law in this land a little too much.
Right. He's like, I'm taking a risk.
Yeah.
By allowing Gimli in these lands.
I've let you come this far.
Yeah.
You should have been blindfolded or stopped right away.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have moved forward until we,
Yep.
got word, really.
Which builds Haldir up as a character. Haldir's like, he's a boss.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Love him.
Yep. So they move along here, and it's smooth. Haldir takes them, it's smooth stepping.
Yep.
Right. So the rivers long defended us, but they are a sure guard no more. For the shadow has crept northward all about us. Some speak of departing, yet for that it already seems too late.
Yeah.
All right. So the mountains are to the west, growing evil to the east. The lands are waste and full of Sauron's creatures. And it is rumored that we cannot now safely pass southward through Ron. And so this is the part where I was kind of talking about as they're walking, they're making some conversation here about why they are so secretive, why they don't let people in and out of their land. They're hemmed in on every side.
Yeah, they are.
So okay. Now let me see if I can find this real quick here. It is said that there are still havens of the high elves, but they are far north and west, beyond the land of the halflings. Say what? You just let me. Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Even if we come to the shores of the sea, we should find no longer any shelter there. It is said that there are still havens of the high elves, but they are far north and west, beyond the land of the halflings.
Well, and is he talking about? This is interesting. Is he talking about Mythland, which is where you leave to go to the Grey Havens?
Scroll up there
because that's west of the Shire.
Is that north? I mean, yeah, it's I guess seems more directly west to me. I was just sort of when I read that, and again, this is Haldir speaking, because he does go on to kind of say that perhaps the Lord and Lady may know, but I do not.
He says to him, far north and west.
Yeah, to the west. Yeah, for sure. I just was thinking. I'm thinking when you look at Hobbiton and the Shire, I'm thinking more directly north and west. It does, it is slightly north and west, I guess, of it. So yeah, but what
were you thinking?
I was thinking that there might be something else. He might have been alluding to something else.
Not the Shire.
Another land, another inhabit. If you look over, go beyond the Grey Havens just a little bit to north and west even further. What's there? I'm just kind of.
Yeah,
I was just mystified by that a little bit. I was kind of like, are there more? Are there more, and also do elves, they seem to stay together in groups, right? Unless they're out kind of wandering and stuff. Has an elf just set up shop maybe somewhere in a tree living out their life?
Probably, Mickle delving.
Mickle delving, yeah. I mean,
Sticklebass McGee.
Where's Nimrodel? Is she still wandering? Did she die?
She's got plenty of tree houses.
Yeah.
So she likes to build those. That's a good question. I don't know.
Anyways, so you ought at least to guess, since you have seen us, said Mary, there are elf havens west of my land, the Shire, where hobbits live. So he's saying just west of his land,
Right.
Happy folk are hobbits to dwell near the shores of the sea, said Haldir. It is long indeed since any of my folk have looked on it, yet we still remember it in song. Tell me of these havens as we walk.
Mary. So there you go. It's almost like...
Mary can't tell him. He's like, I haven't.
Right, but isn't it interesting how
seen them?
It's almost like he assumes Mary has more of a knowledge than they do, because it's.
But he knows. Mary does. He knows where they're at.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's just furthering that idea of how isolated they are.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
it's just crazy. Like to think,
True.
He thinks a hobbit who, I don't know. It's like when someone asks you, "Hey, tell me about this area that's right around where you live." And you're like, "I've never been there."
Well, and you know what? I actually may have. Now that I'm looking at this map again, where Haldir is at, north and west would be the Grey Havens.
Yeah.
To him. So I was jumping right over to kind of like, as
I
like
think
Pippin does.
No, you got a point though. I think.
But Pippin, he thinks from his hometown. Yeah, just west of us is the Grey Havens, but Hobbiton is kind of north. The Shire, the Brandywine, all that. It's north of. So.
It's a good point. Dude, I have no idea.
It gets you thinking, because as we come to a new group of elves, it's sort of like, okay, what else is out there, and who's all in this big Middle Earth?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So he's talking about how none of them have seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mary says, I cannot. Oh, Mary, not Pippin. Sorry. I have never seen them. I've never been out of my own land. And if I had known what the world outside was like, I don't think I would have had the heart to leave.
Yeah.
Right? And then Haldir says, not even to see fair Lothlórien. The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. All right? So let's see. He mentions the lady here in a little bit, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he's talking about the shadow drawing them back, right?
Yes.
Oh, this is neat. Okay.
Yeah, I have that whole paragraph kind of.
Okay, so some there are among us who sing that the shadow will draw us back, and peace shall come again. Yet I do not believe that the world about us will ever again be as it was of old, or the light of the sun, as it was aforetime. For the elves, I fear, it will prove at best a truce, in which they may pass to the sea unhindered and leave Middle Earth forever. Alas for Lothlórien that I love. So it would be a poor life in a land where no Melorn grew. So that I remember I was pointing out to you, like,
yes,
it's all perspective too. This is his home,
right?
Place in which he loves. Maybe going west, is not always everything it's chalked up to be.
Right. And I think this is cool too, because in the films and really up to this point, it seems like most of the elves are kind of one mind. Right?
Yeah.
And this is showing just kind of a different perspective. This to me makes elves more complex. Like, yeah. How you're saying, like, I don't necessarily want to go to the Grey Havens, or I don't want to go to Valinor. I love my home so much that I'd rather stay here.
Yeah.
For sure. It's just, I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next little bit of this is basically just more of them walking along, kind of, taking in the sights and sounds. Did you have anything else there underlined?
I do have a little bit down here. As soon as he set foot upon the far bank of Silverlode, a strange feeling had come upon him, and it deepened as he walked into the Nath.
How did I almost pass this part? Good call, man. Good job.
I don't even know where I am.
Get into it.
It seemed to him that he had stepped over a bridge of time into a corner of the Elder Days.
Yeah. Yep.
And was now walking in a world that was no more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In Rivendell, there was memory of ancient things. Semicolon.
Yep.
In Lórien, the ancient things still lived on in the waking world.
Yeah.
So it's a comparison to, he's comparing it to Rivendell. What he felt there was pretty magical, but it was a memory. Here, these ancient things are still alive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's like this feeling just hits him. Evil had been seen and heard there. Sorrow had been known. The elves feared and distrusted the world outside. Wolves were howling on the woods' borders, but on the land of Lórien, no shadow lie. Kind of interesting, too, because this just hit me right now. So Frodo's got to be thinking, like, it's interesting because that sounds almost like the hobbits of the Shire, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
They've got their own little community.
Yeah, okay.
The world outside is evil.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The guys just seeing the word borders. Wolves were howling on the woods' borders. The elves feared and distrusted the world outside. That sounds like hobbits to me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, yeah.
And we don't think of elves that way. We think of elves as being like these overseers and being well connected and being this, this widespreading culture.
You're right.
And they're kind of hobbity. Maybe that's where they came from.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right though. You're right. The word borders just kind of bring some attention to, or make the connection between the hobbits. Not wanting to leave their land, guessing sort of. As Mary was saying, I've never actually been over there, and Haldir is like, I haven't really. He is, even though he is one of their.
I don't get out much, dude.
Yeah, he's one of their scouts though. He's one of the people who is kind of out using that language, and still, even to him, the world is kind of foreign a little bit.
It kind of endears elves to me a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, okay, now they move along here. There's actually a host that kind of moves up, a host of elves that move up alongside of them, and they're actually on their way or had just finished taking out the orcs.
Yeah.
And there's a message that has been brought from Lord and Lady of Galadriel, right? So, which is where they're walking to the city, at the heart of this forest. And they're told that even the dwarf Gimli can walk free. They're all to take the blindfolds off, and they're good. And it's nice because they get a chance to really take in the sights and the beauties here.
And they even say it seems that the lady knows who and what is each member of your company.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow. So this feeling of, all right, this lady knows us pretty intimately already.
Yeah.
So this build up for this character we're about to meet is pretty epic.
Yeah, you get a connection back here to Amroth, who comes back. We were talking about.
Oh yeah,
isn't that neat?
Yeah. Karen Amroth.
Nimrodel and Amroth. You get the connection kind of full circle here, coming back at the end of the chapter.
And also this description of, oh my gosh, can I just read this next part?
Sure.
Is that cool? Yeah. Look on us now with friendly eyes. Look and be glad, for you are the first dwarf to behold the trees of the Nath of Lothlórien since Durin's day. So, long, long time. When his eyes were in turn uncovered, Frodo looked up and caught his breath. So, breathtaking, literally.
Yeah.
They were standing in an open space. To the left stood a great mound, covered with a sward of grass as green as springtime in the elder days. Upon it, as a double crown, grew 2 circles of trees. The outer had bark of snowy white and were leafless, but beautiful in their shapely nakedness. The inner were malorn trees of great height, still arrayed in pale gold. High amid the branches of a towering tree that stood in the center of all, there gleamed a white flet. At the feet of the trees and all about the green hillsides, the grass was studded with small golden flowers shaped like stars. Among them, nodding on slender stalks, were other flowers, white and palest green. They glimmered as a mist amid the rich hue of the grass. Over all the sky was blue, and the sun of afternoon glowed upon the hill and cast long green shadows beneath the trees.
Yeah.
Behold, you are come to Karen Amroth, said Haldir. For this is the heart of the ancient realm as it was long ago. And here is the mound of Amroth, there you go, where in happier days his high house was built. Here ever bloom the winter flowers and the unfading grass, the yellow Eleanor and the pale Nifredel. Here we will stay a while and come to the city of Galadriel at dusk. Kind of cool connection here. Eleanor is actually Sam and Rosie's first daughter. So how cool is that? And how fitting too that she's named after a flower and he's a gardener.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, what a beautiful place. I mean, just that description, you're like, no wonder it took Frodo's breath away.
Well, and it goes on to continue describing it. I mean, honestly, they were talking about a light was upon it for which his language had no name. They're talking about the light that's in this land. And he saw the colors of that. Let's see, and all that he saw was shapely, but the shapes seemed at once clear cut, as if they had been first conceived and drawn at the uncovering of his eyes, and ancient as if they had endured forever. So this place is untouched. I mean, really, this is one of those places that might have, even during the breaking and things, has been preserved,
survived,
and things. So he saw no color, but those he knew, gold and white and blue and green, but they were fresh, right, and poignant. They had been. It's almost as if they had been, as if he had first looked upon them and then named them himself, as if it's the first time they've been seen in this world.
Like he's Tom Bombadil walking around.
Yeah, it's something else. There's no blemishes, sickness, or deformity. Just a pure, untouched. No shadow.
On the land of Lorien, there was no stain.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Wow.
Pretty cool place.
Then he turns and sees that Sam is standing right beside him.
Dude, could you imagine just like looking next to, like, if you look next to me or you look next to you and I'm just sitting there like in a daze,
I love this,
staring around.
I think Sam's done this before. I can't remember exactly where, but it seems like he has, just rubbing his eyes as if he's not sure he's awake.
Yeah.
Like a little cartoon.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I like this. Yeah. Oh, okay. I feel as if I was inside a song.
If you take my meaning.
Yeah. That's the way he kind of puts it in his words.
So they don't have words to describe. I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's like this. I feel like I am, but no way to describe how they feel. So, and they haven't really. They've seen a lot of beautiful things. They haven't really come to that point yet. Even in Rivendell, it wasn't that way. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to see them. This is a state that we've never seen them in before.
Right. Yep. And Haldir kind of senses this. He looks and sees. He's smiling. He's watching these guys.
He's like, now you know why I don't want to leave, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you feel the power of the Lady of Galadriel, right?
Yeah.
And he asked him if it would please him to climb up the hill of Amroth, right? So to go up on this hill, and this is where I was kind of talking about. At the end of this, get kind of taken back here as they look up. I got disoriented a little bit, but we've described the lay of the land and where everything's at, the land markers, and I think if you take a look at that map, you'll understand what they see when they come up to the top here. So I don't know that we need to describe that. They talk more about the texture of the trees and the life within, all of that good stuff. So let me see here. Anything else that's really
he gets that view. Do you want to read about that view? We kind of talked about it though, didn't we?
We did talk about it, yeah.
I got to read that description of how Frodo finds Aragorn.
Yeah, so after they get done kind of looking, up there. Here's the part that kind of let me see if I can find it real quick. When he gets to the top of that hill, the sun that lay on Lothlórien had no power to enlighten the shadow of that distant height.
Dol Guldur.
Yeah, so he's looking across the way there. There lies the fastness of southern Mirkwood, said Haldir. Okay, so maybe it was this that they're looking at the southern part of. I must have misread that. I thought they were looking south. I thought they had faced south at one point or something, and I was like, "What? How are they looking south and seeing that?" But it was just maybe they're talking about the southern part of Mirkwood.
Yep,
that might have been what threw me off.
How I misread it too.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead and read that. Yes, as he comes back down.
I just love this dude. I think this is obviously the highlight of the chapter for me, and it makes it. I mean, any moment where you got Aragorn reflecting on his love, it's a beautiful thing. So, at the hill's foot, Frodo found Aragorn standing still and silent as a tree, but in his hand was a small golden bloom of Elenor, and a light was in his eyes. He was wrapped in some fair memory. And as Frodo looked at him, he knew that he beheld things as they once had been in this same place. For the grim years were removed from the face of Aragorn, and he seemed clothed in white, a young lord, tall and fair. And he spoke words in the Elvish tongue to one whom Frodo could not see. Arwen Vanemelda Namarie, he said. And then he drew a breath, and returning out of his thought, he looked at Frodo and smiled. Here is the heart of Elvendom on earth, he said, and here my heart dwells forever, unless there be a light beyond the dark roads that we still must tread, you and I. Come with me. And taking Frodo's hand in his, he left the hill of Ceden Emroth and came there never again as living man.
Just want to cry.
It's just amazing.
Dude.
So on the connection of Lorien and Arwen, it's kind of cool because, I mean, gosh, dude, let's make this show about Aragorn because we were just transported in time to when he was a young man there.
Yeah.
Yep. And spent time there and fell in love with Arwen there. So,
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. Excuse me. That was
it is.
a little rainy out there. But anyway, really a cool way to kind of, and then just that kind of that, I don't know, and also the comparison. So we start this chapter with Aragorn having to be kind of the pillar of strength to push them on and to almost kind of block off his emotions, right? He doesn't even have time to mourn Gandalf. He's like, let's go. We got to go, guys.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this chapter, we see him in a moment by himself reflecting and remembering and being vulnerable and emotional. It's just a beautiful, kaleidoscope of who this character is, of why he's the best leader.
Dude, isn't it
and
sad
his complexity.
though? Is it? You almost wonder, is this the spot in which he met her? I don't actually know, because
that's a great point.
Such an emphasis on that he would never come there again as living man.
Yeah.
Does he come there in some other form?
That's
my
great,
Tolkien
dude. That's a
Tolkien
great
leaves
question.
it all open, to kind of. I don't know. It's just very interesting to me.
Yes.
And we've been doing a little bit of research for our Hobbit's Guide in Baron and Luthien, and the story there. Something that's often kind of stuck out to me is afterlife and the idea of what is beyond.
Yes.
And it was kind of, I think, I don't know if I could be I might be struggling here, but the idea that we knew where elves go, we knew where other creatures in Middle Earth go, but it was a secret to Iluvatar that where men would go in the afterlife, and where they would tread. And I just think it's interesting.
Crazy, man.
I don't know. This is because we just so often talk about where they would pass. The elves passing west and things, and going to that fair land.
So I wanted to fact check myself real
Sure,
quick.
yeah.
So it's not where he met Arwen. I misremembered that.
Yeah.
He met her there again.
Okay.
And they lived.
See, I wasn't sure. I didn't know.
Yeah, because his history is it's crazy.
Yeah.
They lived there together.
Okay.
And at midsummer, he gave her the heirloom of his house, which is the Ring of Barahir, and that's where they were pledged to be married. So it's their engagement spot. Okay. So
Oh man,
pretty amazing.
Those
Pretty
emotions
amazing.
there.
Yes.
And then just him walking away hand in hand, with Frodo.
Yeah.
There's just
There's so many levels there. I mean, we could talk forever.
So
It's
much. I know. It's great.
Beautiful.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And again, we probably didn't do this chapter. It had some cool stuff in it, and we always kind of try to be passionate about the chapter because there is a lot to it. It didn't have any of those epic, moments, but there's some neat stuff. There's some neat connections and tidbits, some history, and setting up a really big meaning in next chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really important to the company and the fellowship as they go forward.
Yeah.
Much needed, actually, with the loss of Gandalf.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Beautiful.
That is the chapter. Sorry for all the sticklebatness we got into there during the reread.
I'm not sorry.
I'm sorry for Lane. Yeah.
You're sorry for me.
I'm sorry for you. Okay.
What the heck?
Here we go. We are into. Let me make sure I got the Bywater Post. Goodness.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, I wanted to do while you get that pulled up. I don't know if you have we have a Tolkien story from JR that we want to talk about. First, we'll do Mike Upshaw's, but I want to give everybody kind of an update as to where we are. We have some awesome stories. We've got Corey, we've got Alex, Aaron, Shelby, Mariah, Michael, Jennifer, Susie, Charles, Shona, Richard, Emma, Erica, so on. We've got Richard,
Becky, Tammy, Timmy,
there
Tommy.
you go. They're all there. We've got all of your stories coming up. I just wanted you guys to know that I had them and I have them in order.
Some guy named Urza Crick.
Urza Crick is in there as well.
Sounds like trouble.
But so we're gonna kind of some weeks we'll do two, some weeks we'll do one. We kind of like to highlight one. It's nice to just to highlight one and really take it in. But this week we've got two for you. So
Beat Birdie. I do want to make a quick apology real quick. It has to do with a clip that we played with Luke and Abby from last week. I told Ez it was just kind of bugging me. You hear me in that clip say, and this is just mostly for myself, guys, to just sort of, I feel like I'm going to confession here and talking to a priest. All right, I need to wipe this clean and let you know that I got the facts straight. But I said something about the journey taking 13 months. As this journey, this quest to destroy the ring does not take 13 months.
Yep.
It takes 6 months.
Dude, and I had no idea. I had never really mapped it out like that.
And I don't know why it was bugging me. I was like, is that? I want to make sure that's right. I was like, I'm going to go back and check because, stuff gets fuzzy. Numbers sometimes get misremembered. Went back, triple checked it. And then I was like, maybe I was thinking of Bilbo's journny. Maybe that whole thing took 13 months. Went and looked. Nah, it's about 6 months. So sorry. I'm sure there are some of you who are like me who are love the details, and when they're wrong, it kind of bothers you a little bit. And so I apologize for that.
Hey,
so anyway.
and honestly, if we do make an error, something I know you guys always mention in the thread, bring up stuff that we forget or things that we misremember or what have you. So that's always super helpful.
It is very helpful.
And
we got to sharpen each other's swords. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good stuff. So
got to be a better way to say that.
That was the best way.
Okay, so. I think it was.
Okay, all right.
JR's.
Yeah, actually, let's do Mike first.
Go. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just got finished listening to your many meetings episode. It reminded me of a humorous moment in my life. Enjoy. And this shocked me. I when I opened this, I was kind of like, what? Okay, let's see if I get this right. So 'twas the night of first showing, Fellowship of the Ring. In my first year of college, pure joy did I sing. The books all had read. All but a few, to all it was familiar, but to my lady all new. Throughout the whole theater, not a whisper was made. Each fanboy sat motionless, all noises did fade. Then came at scene, the ring did Bilbo seek. He lunged forth towards Frodo, and next to me shriek. All eyes were rent. from that wondrous screen and passed through my lady, but pierced me, who they thought mean. My lady sat wailing and sobbing with tears, while patrons all grumbled and threw at me jeers. Alas, of that lady I dared not bear longer, and now, many years later, my wife is much stronger.
That's awesome.
It's really good. Sorry if I botched it a little bit, but
awesome.
that's really, really good. So
That's beautiful.
there's a story for you.
That
you
is,
know?
man. What a cool way to narrate that for
His
us.
wife is much stronger. There
True
you
to
go.
Tolkien form. I mean, that's
You gotta be
pretty
careful
cool.
who you bring with you to the theaters to watch these things.
And
you
I
know?
have a couple of stories that are kind of similar. This is not for me to share stories, but I do want to share it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Goldberry was the one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I knew that. But what really confirmed it in my mind and my heart and my soul was Sarah had never seen Lord of the Rings, right? I think she had seen like parts of some of them because they're popular.
Yeah.
First time I showed them to her, we sat through Fellowship. I was like, "Do you want to watch the next?" She goes, "Yes, let's play the next one." Are you serious? We just finished. She was like, "Let's do it." And these extended editions, mind you.
Yeah.
Watch Two Towers. Did you like that? Yeah. Well, when are we starting the third one? I was like, well, let's take some time. Like, let's. All right. So we watched the third one.
Yeah.
And the moment I knew that this woman is my Goldberry, that she is the one who completes me, that she's the one I will only be able to strive to be worthy of, is when Sam and Frodo, you know, on the edges of Mount Doom, and he says, you know, "Can't carry it for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you."
Yeah.
I'm weeping, and I've seen it a million times. I look over at my wife, and tears streaming down her face.
Let's go.
You know, sniffling.
Yeah.
Even doing some, those crying sounds. And I was like, "Holy crap! It's over.
Let's get. Yeah.
It's over. Let's get
Yep.
married right now." So
That's awesome. Yeah.
beautiful.
That's how you know.
But
That's
you
how
got to
know.
make sure.
You do.
Got to make sure.
You got to put them through that. Take your loved one, whoever it may be, and sit them down for the extended edition. And
the extended edition is absolutely.
that's where you trial by.
It also reminds me of I did the 12 Days of Narnia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wrote a poem years ago.
Really?
Kind of reminds me of that.
You have to bring that out
Christmas
for
theme.
us sometime.
I think I deleted it. It was on one of those,
I'll find it for everybody.
MySpace or whatever.
Fear not, folks. I'll find it.
All right, that's enough gabbing from old Butterbur. Let's get into JR's Tolkien story. All right?
Yeah, let's hear it. Hey guys, we are joined by a special guest now. We've got JR from the Sci-Fi Shenanigans podcast, and we want to kind of have him share his Tolkien story. But first of all, JR, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's always nice to talk to another Tolkien fan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and while professionally I'm a sci-fi writer, and so that's what my public image, if you would, focuses on. I still nerd out about the elves and the dwarves and I'm totally so. And in fact, some of the stuff that I read that I don't actually publicly talk about as much because it's not branding is essentially like there's a Mark Allen Idlehype basically took the Roman legions and stuck them in the middle of Middle Earth.
Holy.
So like I still get down with that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I totally so.
That's great.
Yeah, it's the Chronicles of an Imperial Legionary Officer. It's a long-winded title, but it's good.
That's a title that only Tolkien could appreciate, I think. So
Right.
JR is an upper. We actually were just on his podcast, which was amazing. We had a lot of fun talking to him. We missed Chris. We want to meet Chris, but we wanted to have JR on and share his Tolkien story. So JR, tell us about how you got into Tolkien, how you meandered into Middle Earth, and just tell us your story there, if you don't mind.
So I actually was a late bloomer when it came to reading. I remember when I was in first grade and kindergarten, my parents had to bribe me with fishing trips to get me to actually sit down and read. And I would drag my feet and pretend like I couldn't read just because I didn't want to until they were like, "We're not going on this fishing trip until you finish whatever many pages." And so suddenly, like in 2 minutes, I had all of what I'd spent the last half hour doing. But I was just never really a big reader. And then I remember as a kid watching The Hobbit, the animated cartoon. And so that was kind of cool. And so I was in about the third or fourth grade, I think. And my mom was like, you really should read, because, she had probably just read some study. I wouldn't say Cosmo, because I don't even know if that was a thing, or that she reads it. But like one of those parenting magazines, she had read some study about oh, you got to get these kids to read. It'll help them get into college, and all the stuff they tell people. And so she's like, you should check this out. And so she gave me at that point a copy of The Hobbit because I liked the cartoon so much. And that's when I had that sort of epiphany moment all readers have, where you're like, holy garbage, the book's way better than the movie. And so from there I was hooked. And so I remember getting done with that, and I said, I want to know like what happens next. And she said, oh, there's this thing called Lord of the Rings, but it's a bunch of reading. You probably wouldn't like it. So I'm like, no, dude, I'm gonna do this thing. Let's go to the library. And so the local library did not have a copy for whatever reason. They do now, but they didn't at the time, or maybe it was just checked out. I don't remember, but it happened to coincide with, you remember the Scholastic Book Club?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They used to, like, the traveling library used to be the coolest thing ever. You'd blow your whole year allowance in one day.
Yes.
It was great, great times. And so they were coming to town, and so I was like, well, I'll just get it there. And I, rode my little bike to school with all my coins in my pocket. And they didn't sell it. That was considered too advanced for was it 3rd or 4th grade?
Yeah.
But I mean, I was an advanced reader, and so at that point in time, I went back sort of like in defeat with all my money clinking in my pocket. It's a good thing nobody bullied me and stole my milk money, because they would have gotten a lot that day. But and so I got home and I told my mom. I was so upset. I'm like, they didn't have it. And so finally she relented, and we went to it wasn't Books A Million. It was maybe Barnes and Noble. I don't know, whatever one of the bigger bookstore chains was at the time. And so we went to the bookstore, and sure enough, they had it. And from there, it was off to the races. But that first the Hobbit cartoon, the old one, that still has a special place in my heart. In fact, at some point in time, I'm gonna track a copy down for my kids, because they're at the age where they can appreciate it now. So, but that's how I started. So I started with the Hobbit and the cartoon, and then I got into the books. And then when did the movies come out? What, late 90s?
01, 02, 03.
So I was in college, and I went to a military college, so I was a little bit distracted. And then shortly after I graduated, in fact, before I graduated and then after I graduated, I did both my deployments to Iraq. So I actually caught the movies years later.
Wow.
And so I've seen them. I enjoyed them. But for me, it was the cartoon and then the books. And I've read the books a bunch of times. And so I was talking to my wife. I said, I can't really talk, publicly about the fantasy I'm reading, or not as much, because I don't want to, confuse the branding. And dirty little secret is JR, the author, has a Facebook page. Justin does not. Not that anybody calls me that, but like personally, I wouldn't have social media. Like, I didn't even do the MySpace when that was a thing. Like, Tom and I were never friends.
Holy smokes.
So like I'm my wife says I'm a throwback. Like, I'm like a few hairs shy of a Neanderthal. So like I'm totally not down for like the social media. But when I was looking for podcasts, because that I do enjoy, I said, well, let's see if we could find anything for fantasy. And we typed in fantasy and podcast in iTunes, and you popped up, and it was like we listened together.
Wow.
My wife and I.
That is
to the podcast. And so she got in a pretty severe car accident last year, and so she's got lots of doctor's appointments right now. Oh, she's doing fine. And they've got the surgery next month, and everything's going to be good after that.
Okay.
But while we're driving to and fro to all these doctor's appointments, we listen to you guys. Wow. And sometimes I have to pause it, because she's one of those TV watchers that will talk over everything. So like, you've got to pause it so you can talk to her, because she'll like talk. She's talking to you, but you don't hear her.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So we have a 4-way conversation with you while we listen.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Wow. 4-way conversation.
So I got her hooked on. Yeah, I got her hooked on podcast when I read the Outlander series as a kid, I guess in middle school. It's by Diana Gabaldon. It's nominally it's a romance book, but basically it's time travel to Jacobite Scotland.
Oh yeah, yeah. Isn't there a TV show about that?
They did. Stars did a movie adaptation, and so when that first came out, there were a lot of podcasts where like people react to it, and there was one where it was like I think they called it like a Cessnation in English. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but basically this lady that loved this series and had read all of the books, and her husband happened to be Scottish and had never read the books, and so they were watching the TV show together, and so that got her into podcasting. And then from there, it's like, what next? so we actually are gonna, because it expires in December, we're canceling our XM radio because we don't listen anymore. We just listen to podcasts.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's hilarious.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's $100 I won't be spending next year, so that's also good.
Exactly. That's right, man. Okay, so if you had to pick how about we do this? Favorite book? It could be The Hobbit or within the trilogy, or another book that Tolkien wrote that you read, and then your favorite film adaptation. Could you do that for us?
Sure. So that's going to be cheesy. I loved for the book. I loved The Hobbit because it's first, right? Like I read that first, so it has that special place.
Your first love,
right? And so I've read everything else, but Frodo. I mean, he's. I liked him, but The Hobbit, right? It's The Hobbit, and so and it was such a tightly woven story for what it was that, and just the prose in that were just so like Tolkien was the guy that taught me that reading could be fun, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the way he worded things, like partly it's he was from a different era, like they talked differently, they were more formal, so the writing just sounded melodious, I guess, if that's even a word. I could be making it up, who knows.
Sure, for sure.
But yeah, so I just liked his voice, like the way he wrote. So I like The Hobbit. I've also read the Silmarillion, which I enjoyed mostly because it's like it's down in the weeds with the other fellow nerds. Most people are like, what is he talking about?
It drives a lot of people away. A lot of people are scared of the Silmarillion.
I liked it, but mostly because it's just more, right?
Right. Yeah.
And if the writing technology had been what it was back, I mean, because they're henpecking it on those old typewriters, and then you got the pages and the all that goes with that. So I mean, the fact that like the pulp era guys could do what they did is amazing.
Yes, it is.
But Tolkien he didn't write that fast. He had a real job, right? And so not that writing isn't a real job, but and so he didn't produce as much as he could have.
Right.
And so there wasn't as much. So for me, it's like, oh, more sweet.
Yeah. Yep.
So I've got mixed feelings about the re-release of the expanded versions that his dad had.
Okay.
Mostly because did you ever watch or read, To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like everybody reads in school. So when she first wrote that, she wrote Go Tell the Watchmen, and I'm drawing a blank on the lady's name. And so, but Harper Lee. Yeah. So I read To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, that was one of my favorite sort of literary type stories I read. And so then when you go back and you read To Go Tell a Watchman, which came after, it's like, ooh, yeah, not so much. So I'm a little bit leery because I'm just afraid. Like Tolkien took it out for a reason, right? So I'm kind of leery. I could get down if they like highlighted it in such a way that you can see what was taken out.
Okay,
but I could also see how that could be distracting.
Sure.
So that's the books, and then as far as the movie, I actually haven't seen. I own it. I just haven't had a lot of free time. I haven't seen the new version, the trilogy movies of The Hobbit for the one book. Yeah. Although I don't understand how The Hobbit got 3 movies, but arguably the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which was 3 times as long, got 3 movies. Like I feel like I've watched all of the Lord of the Rings movies. I did enjoy all of them.
Yeah, we're still asking ourselves the same question. We're still asking ourselves the same question.
I never understood how that got how they broke that up. Well, I actually, it was a monetary decision. The Lord of the Rings trilogies they made first. They did so well. They're like, we're going to milk this train right now.
Yep.
And we're going to do 3 books for The Hobbit. Yep. Not that, I'm complaining, or 3 movies for The Hobbit, because it's on my list to watch. Like, when I play hooky from work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed the movies. I did. I am excited. I've heard you guys talk about Amazon getting the rights. I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Right.
Amazon does a pretty.
What would be your favorite? Sorry to interrupt you, but what would you want the show to focus on?
There's so much. That universe is so expansive. Like I'd love them to go to an earlier age where it's like the universe that we love. It's got that feel, but they don't step on any toes. So one of the things that we've talked on my podcast about Star Wars, and one of the things that people complained about is some of what they did was retconning. It was like, well, if they could do this because they did it in this movie, why didn't they do this over here, which happened like months later on the timeline? And so there's that danger when you go back and you tell a parallel story. You either spend so much time threading the needle to get the details right that you lose the story, or you're going to break some of the continuity. And like diehard readers are like, no, that's not what a ranger would do.
Yep.
Or whatever the case may be. So by going before or after, I think that could be good. The other thing that they could do that happened in the movies and in the books, but remember when they went through that abandoned dwarven city that like everybody was dead? I'm drawing a blank on the name. Moria. Like they could totally tell the story of what happens. There's an epic, that'd be right up there with like Beowulf and Gilgamesh, the story of whatever happened there.
For sure. That's good.
That could be like a modern classic if they did it right.
We actually just talked about that because that's our next episode that's coming out, is the chapter in the chambers of Marzabul.
Right.
And like the book that Gandalf finds, there's enough details, but there's enough that was scrawled out or like bled on that you could take some liberties, but you could still tell an account of how that colony went down.
And so there's the other great thing thing about that is, so I mentioned earlier to you off air, but that I was trained as a historian. So I actually was halfway through a master's degree in colonial American history at Villanova before my deployments and the head injury. And so I do, you accept as a basic premise that there's what we call unreliable narrators. Some of these books are written with an agenda as far as people writing it at the time. So for instance, if you're American, a lot of our founding fathers, any correspondence they had that didn't put them in the best light, some of their family member, oops, that fell in the fire. And so Benjamin Franklin is a prime example. And so the reason that pertains is what's on that book doesn't have to be exactly parallel to what really happened. And you could do that and nobody would question it if you acknowledge that the book wasn't true. Like if you could fit that in. So there's just so much there. But I feel like every time you went somewhere, like I'm talking, I could totally dig the Real Housewives of the Shire, right? I mean, like there's stuff there too. Like so,
and I think that's where the most drama is. You go I've been do a Downton Abbey that's in the Shire, and I'd eat that up, man. So it'd be great.
I don't know what kind of music you listen to, but I dig the pure vocals too. And so there's a singer. His name is Peter Hollins. Him and his wife do music on YouTube, and they're independent artists. But Peter Hollins did a song called "The Green Dragon."
Oh wow!
And so it's set in a bar that sort of has that Tolkien vibe. And so I just keep thinking when I saw that, I'm like, there's a story in there about what happens at the Green Dragon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So I mean that could totally be its own series right there.
Good.
Like the Tolkien's version of
for that for years.
Tolkien's version of Cheers, right?
Yes, thank you, man. I've been pushing that for years.
Yeah.
That's my. If I had a card that I could hand over and they would say, yes, we're going to do this, I would want a dramedy set in the Shire, just in the Shire, exploring the families and all the gossip and all the history. It'd be amazing, fascinating. Talking about when the snow came and the werewolves came over or whatever, the ice wolves, and they had to be driven off by the hobbits in charge. It'd be incredible. Yeah, I'm with it.
I did like the hobbits, but I will say maybe it's because my family were Germanic and Scottish. Like when they finally immigrated to the U.S., it was like they kept marrying each other, so everybody were, even though years later and many different bloodlines, but we're still pretty much half German, half Scottish. So for some reason, like the dwarves and the mountain people, that sort of spoke to me. So I always fall back on I love me some dwarves, but yeah, the Shire was a close second.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They're hardy folks.
The elves I couldn't get behind as much. They were a little too standoffish. They were a little too aristocrats.
They're unrelatable.
They were.
Yeah,
and I think that was done intentionally. If you look at the era and with the class system and everything, I mean, it makes sense why Tolkien did that. And he came out of the Somme in World War One, and what's that expression about World War One? Lions led by donkeys. So he did not have a very high opinion of the upper class.
Yeah. Wow.
So I mean, I definitely understand it, but it did sort of make like, and a lot of like, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player, like the elves there, kind of cool. I'd hang out with them. We'd go hunt deer or something together. But the elves in Tolkien, not so much.
Yeah.
You get the impression that they'd drink their tea with their pinky up and look down their noses at you.
Yeah, that's right. Crystal clear water and lettuce only.
Right. Where I'm more for the eating, like the Shire and the cold beer from the dwarves, and those are some hardy folks. I could get behind that.
They are. Well, JR, we could probably talk to you for I don't know, hours, days.
We could.
We want to thank you for coming on and sharing your Tolkien story. Tell others how they can listen to more of your voice, because your podcast is awesome. You guys have sci-fi authors on, so explain a little bit about where they can listen to you.
All right, so our website is sfshenanigans.com. We don't really do much there. It's mostly just a static page where our podcasts upload, and then mostly we hang out. If where anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us, Sci-Fi Shenanigans. But we also have a Facebook group of the same name, SF Shenanigans, and we basically nerd out about fantasy and science.
Awesome,
nice,
awesome. So yeah, right up our alley too. We like that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, hey,
absolutely,
JR, thank you for being on here. We appreciate it, and we'll see you in Middle Earth.
Absolutely, looking forward to the next episode.
Thanks, brother. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I think we get a little long-winded there, but it's good talking to JR.
JR is easy to talk to.
He's easy. Yeah, he is, man.
And it's really cool to hear that he and his wife read along with us and are part of the book club. Amazing. So go check him out. He's a fantastic guy, and
I think we're gonna be on there in a couple weeks or something. Talking with him.
Sci-fi stuff. That's right.
Yeah. So, and I never even thought about the difference between sci-fi and fantasy, and how people really like to keep the two separated, and they don't want to. There's arguments about what classifies as which.
What is Star Wars?
Exactly.
Both?
I don't know. Good thoughts. So, all right, guys. We have gone a little long today, but that's okay. We always do.
Quick strawberries with cream in 5 seconds. Are you ready?
Yeah, I got it.
Would you rather spend the night with Haldir or Elrond or Gildor or Glorfindel? We have a sleepover in the trees, so who would you stay with as?
Honestly, Gildor.
What?
Yeah.
People are going to be so disappointed you didn't say Glorfindel.
No, I mean I don't think Glorfindel's cool to sleep over with. I don't think he's. I don't know, man. He's serious. If you're talking just spend the night, chill out, I think
Okay.
Gildor back near home,
And they did that.
Yeah. I just think it'd be fun.
I think for once, as we're in agreement.
Are we?
I'm
Good.
going with Gildor too.
Yeah, because right now, Haldir is they're in like I don't know, man. They're depressed. It's just
Right.
I'm sure maybe Haldir later, like over in their turf, it would be cool. Maybe.
If we had to fast forward and I threw Galadriel in there, are you still picking Gildor?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't hang out with Galadriel. Yeah,
Jeez.
I'm kind of
Ice cold.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wow, why don't you shout at everybody while you're
Turn your headphones down, dear.
okay. Hey guys, thanks for again putting up with us this episode. We appreciate it. This is Share the Load, so just a time for us to plug our Patreon series where we dive into Middle Earth, we dive into the histories, we dive into New Zealand. New Zealand. Can we speak?
New Zealand-minated.
Yeah, boy, it is almost 12:30, so we are.
We're just getting started.
It's getting started. But anyways, head on over to patreon.com/UpTalkinTolkien, and you can get a shirt there. Like we've said at the top of the show, we're working on those. We've got our history series coming, all that good
I
stuff.
love how flustered you are right now. It's great.
It's great, yeah.
All right, on to our weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells. We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Our next episode, we'll be digging deep into Chapter 7 of Book 2, The Mirror of Galadriel.
That's right. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment, or send us that Shadowfax.
Shadowfax! We'll see you in a Hobbit fortnight, and remember, Frodo lives.
Oh yeah, we take the rain to doom, and every day that we think of the gloom, we gotta pass it by, 'cause there's greener days ahead. Coming back to the dragon, put it into the ring of doom, and everybody's coming in the room, and I can't rhyme with any other words, so I have to go back to my Jesus Lord. His name is Gandalf. Yeah, he's here, and then he's gone, then he's here again, gone again. Like, he does what he wants, and he comes and goes. I'm out. I'm going to them Grey Havens, baby. Ain't no chasings, baby. I'm out. I'm taking the brain sprout. I'm going with Galadriel. What the hell, we gonna do? We gonna make elves.
That's so sick.
Peace. Peace to all my hobbits.